Right guys, so I'm going to just hide Photoshop for a sec. We're going to go back to that later. I'll update you on all this character weapon stuff in a bit, but there's some things to chat about. So who we got to the Discord? Oh, I put a live announcement up, so let's zoom in on that so you guys can actually see it. Right, so some news. I have cut down the assets of the custom hero creator from 294 to 219. I actually believe it's 216 actually, because I counted them all. And I think this is a smart decision, to be honest, because if we're going to have weapons with different aesthetics, there's going to be a lot of work putting those weapons over time on the hero. Because unfortunately RPG Maker does have limitations, and I've done my research, there's absolutely no way to simply overlay a transparent weapon PNG file over the hero. They actually have to be physically put on all of those hero assets. So it's pretty time consuming, but it's worth it because it's made the game more fun, more exciting, and I kind of have fun doing that. It's never fun doing repetitive work, but it's fun to see the outcome and to think, oh, this is really cool. And people are a-holes. They are, aren't they? The badass is back. Yeah, Legion is walking on the screen as well as all you other awesome characters. Look at you all. Look at you all. Glad it's Friday. Yeah, anyone doing anything nice this weekend? Also, Binary, I loved that commission that you put up in the Discord of your doggo. Absolutely beautiful. But guys, so yes, I didn't want to get rid of anything really awesome in the custom character creator because I love the choice of the different looks you can give your hero. But I just thought we could get rid of one of the complexions because we had two light skin colours, one medium and one dark complexion. And honestly, we don't need the two light ones. One of them was quite fair, quite pale, and the other was a slightly darker, lighter skin. But in all honesty, the difference wasn't enough to make it worthwhile to keep in the character generator. And from 294 to 216, that's very, it saves a lot of repetitive work for me. It's still, 216 is still a pretty big number, but it's helpful. And this way we've only got assets that really make a visual difference to the hero in the character creator. So we'll have the three choices of complexions for your hero: light, medium and a dark complexion. And I think that's a much... that totally works. Totally works. I love it all, so yay. Oh wait, that reminds me, someone sent some ideas in the Google Doc. I have to check it out. Yeah, totally, Kira. If you wanna update your Google Doc, that goes for anyone who's a character in the game. I let all of you have control over your character's backstory and all that, but some of you, don't mind me having control. But if you want to do that, you can totally write a Google Doc, update it whenever you want, take it all in your own time. And yes, so yeah, I did all that yesterday and checked the character creator, and it's all looking good and looking fine. And I've put all the axes on every single warrior asset. Didn't take too long because I've got an organised way of doing it. So it probably a couple of hours out of my day of doing that. But we've still got to do the hunter, so we might do that today. But we'll see. We'll at least do some of it today. Right. So. We'll also do some testing to make sure everything's working, but it should be. And then next week we'll move on to other stuff. Skill trees, maybe, all going well. But I have been thinking about things, and I want the streams to be more lore focused as well. Sometimes the streams might be a little bit more technical, like doing battle system stuff, or doing all the conditional branches, and that kind of thing might be a bit on the boring side sometimes, but they're jobs that sometimes have to be done. And I like the flexibility of not having pressure of having a stream planned, you know, at the same time as well. But in all honesty, I would love to aim to have more exciting lore discussion streams rather than the technical boring ones, if that makes sense. That's kind of a goal, because I think everyone would like to be more involved in that and have more fun in the streams if it was based on those sort of things. But at the same time, there might be the odd stream like that thrown in now and again. And I haven't got further than decided if my character would be a major or minor NPC. I'm leaning towards minor though. Yeah. I suppose there really isn't much difference with minor and major. I'd say, in all honesty, have a peek at the forms, and if certain questions apply more to what you've got in mind for your character, for example, what's their job in town? Are they a merchant, a blacksmith? That question is only really a thing on the minor NPC form. The questions on the major NPC form are completely different. I mean, at the moment, that's what it's like. Who knows? The forms might be changed slightly in the future, but that would be, you know, way ahead. I think it's fine to have minor and major at the moment. But I had random thoughts of, you know, having townsperson and being a little bit more descriptive on what the NPCs are and having individual forms for things like that. But that would be in the future, perhaps. But also, what I want to talk about today was about the character stuff as well. We're keeping things as playable character, major and minor for now. You know, I have played around with the idea of changing the wording of some of the forms, but will so. And I've even put how many we've got so far. So we've got 28 total community characters so far. We've got 10 playable ones, 14 major NPCs and 4 minor NPCs. So as you can say, there is, you know, most people, we do have minor NPCs, but there's not as many as playable and major NPC. And someone suggested in chat the other stream, maybe in the future having different raindrop point requirements for that, like make playable character cost more raindrops to be in the future, especially because they'll be taken up. You know, we've already got 10, and I have said Raindrop Chronicles is going to be the kind of game that will have a lot of playable characters, because there's still a lot of jobs, a lot of classes that haven't been picked yet. If you've looked on the playable character form, there's still quite a fair few. I'm sure there's more too. And to give you a quick example of some games that have a lot of playable characters, I think it was Aggro, he kindly put some of them in chat last stream. Radiator Stories, have I butchered that name? That had over 100 playable characters. Infinite and Discovery had 18. Final Fantasy VI had 14. Valkyrie Profile had 30 plus. Valkyria Chronicles has 50 plus. Fire Emblem has 30 plus. And there's also Chrono Cross and, so I can never say the name of that other game, Code. I've heard of that game so often, it's a very common one I come across, but I've never really how to pronounce it. They apparently have a lot of playable characters in as well, so I mean, it's pretty crazy that one is over 100. Like, I don't even think I could think of 100 jobs, you know, different class jobs. But 50 plus definitely seems possible, and 30 plus definitely. So at the moment we've got 10. We are increasing the raindrop requirement to 1,000 in 2 weeks' time for all of them, whether you're playable, major or minor, but it's an experimentation. We'll see how things go with it being 1,000. And in a couple of months or in a few months' time, I might change the requirements further and put a sort of, you know, make it more expensive for playable. Maybe minor will cost 1,000, but major NPC and playable characters will cost more, during the coming months. Because it's going to have to be done, because like we said, we'll end up with too many, all the playable character classes would eventually get taken up. And it'd be a shame to completely be like, oh, you can't be one now, you're too late. I'd rather have the cost be 10,000 raindrops than close it forever, you know what I mean? I make it just super valuable to be a playable character in the game once we get to a certain point. Let me catch up with chat. I made Legion's Discover quest and Loyalty quest and also backstory. Yeah, honestly, again, I'm really impressed with how detailed Legion is. He's a cool character. And sounds like a good idea in my opinion. Yeah, Legion's Skill Tree is going, sending it on Discord. Yeah, thank you so much, Kieran. We don't know when we're going to see Legion, but I'm really glad that all the stuff's there to make things a bit easier on my end for once we do implement him into the game. And how do you check that again? Okay, so it's raindrops. What I'm going to do, guys, because it is on the website, this information is, but what I'm intending to do, just to make things a little bit more easy for people hanging out to know the rules and how everything works here, I'm intending to have like an overlay. You know how we've got that banner at the top, that blue banner with the website in the corner? I'm intending to have a few of those banners and have them sort of slide across and change and have like information on them about the stream and the game. Like one of them could have the command, can say check how many, like just mention how you can be a character in the game and what the command is for that, just so people know instantly. Then I think that'd be pretty cool. But the thing is, as soon as I start advertising that you can be a character in the game, more people will be interested and more characters will be in the game. So I might even have to raise the raindrops further if that ever became the case. But I do think making it double is going to help a lot, because it's not easy to get 1,000 raindrops in this stream, that's for sure. But we'll see how it all goes. I'm going to play it by ear, this one. So no, I'm a fake fan. No worries at all, Mia. It's totally fine. I'm being a drizzle's awesome anyway. No, all fun is valuable. Exactly, Akira. Exactly. But anyway, but yeah, I just wanted you to know where I stood on it's mainly playable characters. They're very valuable type of character. And I think we've got 2 coming up as well, because here's our Trello page. We have Nephil, Scaly, Van and Triarchus characters to do. They're on the list, and we're probably going to have more submitted before June the 8th as well, because there's a few of you guys that are going to want to get your forms in before the deadline closes for 500 raindrops, which I'm expecting. I'm expecting to do quite another big batch of characters when that deadline closes. And I think, yeah, Van and Triarchus' characters are going to be playable characters, because I've had a look on their forms. So that will turn into 12 playable characters, and it'll probably be higher than that still, because I think there's more that want to be playable characters too. So if I find, I might do that. I might make that cost more raindrops. If I'm finding that we are slowly getting them taken up, but the major and minor NPCs will be cheaper, specifically minor NPCs. But I think we could totally easily get 30 playable characters in our game. I wouldn't panic over that, because this game is something that's going to be in development for years. That's my aim. I'm seeing it as a sort of long-term thing, so it's not like we're going to have all those potential 30 playable character classes all done in the space of a few weeks. That would be overwhelming. If it was like that would feel like a lot of work, but because it's such a long, and everyone's going to be so spaced out, and like I said, it's episodic, so we're only going to meet a handful of this playable character cast in episode 1. And there'll probably be gates with the skill tree. We're not going to do a whole skill tree for every single playable character all in one go. That would be too much. Take it a bit at a time, and that way it's more fun as well. What you could do if you hit an NPC character cap is make a graveyard with stones that have custom text, so people could apply to be involved in that capacity. Here lies Derek. He was Maximum Derek. Awesome. Yeah, that's quite a creative idea. I'm going to save that as well, Mia, because it's all very, you know, it's definitely it's interesting to see how we are starting to get lots of submissions. When this was a very young project, obviously we only had a few characters, but over the months people have been very excited about making characters, so I have to adapt to that, otherwise things will go pretty crazy, you know. And I'm sure, who knows, in a year from now this whole character submission process could even be very different still. But we'll see how it all goes. We'll see, it's exciting. But I did want to research those games that Agro mentioned. I kind of wanted to have a little look at screenshots to see what their playable character or party selection screens look like, just for inspiration. And I like to look at Let's Plays as well, just to know how they handle it and how they design around such a thing, having so many characters. But there's definitely plugins in RPG Maker that allow, that is a party picker, so that's not an issue to implement into the game at all. It should be pretty straightforward. Bird Lover, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing today? It's super good to have you here. Yes, so, right guys, so I haven't even got RPG Maker up yet. Let's get that up now, because we're gonna do some testing as well on the hero and their weapons, making sure it's all working. I'm curious about this one game. I'm also going to do a Google image search. Fine, actually I'll show you guys that as well. Get it up. So this is a game that apparently has 100 playable characters in it. So I want to see this. Is this all of them? No, I don't even know if that's it in game. I've never. Oh, PlayStation 2, I see. I want to see the character selection. Character recruitment, character list. Normally, you fan Legion buys discovery quest in the main city of the Raindrop Chronicles, a rumour of the village killer, and then the church with a priest, which gave you an item that helped access the ethereal forest. I really liked that idea. I thought it was super creative to have like a mirror version of the Everbloom forest. And I'm sure that will be where that will be placed in the world. We don't know yet, but one thing I have wanted to do once we have some more lore-driven streams is get the map out. It's very early version of the map at the moment, so it might change gradually over time. But we do have a sort of map, a world map at least. We could just plan whereabouts in the world the characters that we've got so far would be. Just a rough guide. There could be several places there could potentially be, but it's nice to consider where in the world, or even just the sort of environment or city or place they'd come from. We know David's character, for example, lives on a mountaintop. He's a blacksmith on a mountain. So yeah, of course, we're not going to see him until we get to a mountain area. So it's nice to although we've only done the Everbloom Forest right now, We don't really know what's around us other than a farm. We know that there's a farm area around us from Carol the Barrel's flashback. We don't really know about the rest of the world. So even if we just have do a really rough early draft of the map, with the areas don't have to 100% be there. If we needed to switch them around, that is fine, but that'd be fun to do. That'd be quite fun to do. Hi Neffel, how you doing? Recruitable characters, thank you, Aggro. Let's have a look at that link. I have an artist that makes RPG Maker MV sprites and I enjoy some of their work. Would it be cool to have them make custom sprite for my character? Just curious. As long as it fit with the aesthetics of the rest of the cast, then yes. And as long as the artist was okay with their stuff being used on a £0 budget game, you know. Yeah, so really you've seen what they look like. We've got the characters here, so let's get a few of them up. I just clicked on some right, so you know, you can see the look. It's literally the traditional sort of look we're going for, which just makes it easier that way, because if we went for assets that were too unique looking, it would be a lot harder to make them fit in the world. I think it's a very important thing when you're using a lot of different resources and assets from different artists, that you make sure that everything fits and doesn't look like it all comes from a different game, because it would be quite weird. But yeah, if it fit, if it all had that same look, then totally. Oh, lore idea. Monsters are created by the fresh rain when storms happen. People know to stay indoors during storms because the storms can morph and change people, animals into monsters. Oh, cool. You know, all these lore ideas that you guys are having, it's really making me definitely want to do more lore streams, because I always say that the streams are for discussion and for chats and ideas, and like the game's development and plans and just all rambles really. I'd rather than be focused on those sort of things rather than actually doing me just staring at a screen doing work, you know, because that's not very interactive. The work to me is done off stream. That's why I only stream 3 days a week, so I have time to actually do those things. So yeah, I'm definitely keen on doing that. And you guys, Mia and Vandalia, like sent me some really good links as well to do with lore. So just having a little peek at those made me think, yeah, it'd be really cool to just get some stuff talked about. And I think the more we discuss lore on stream as well, the more the community will start to get an idea for the game and what it's all about more as well. Because I know some of you do, like those of you that are very like invested, have watched the lore video probably a few times, and some of you do, but not everybody does. So it'd be cool to get more people like involved as well. How are you doing, Neville? I'm doing decently, Neville. And yeah, for sure, I'll make sure the portrait animations and sprites fit in. Yeah, so yeah, totally, exactly the same. You know, you're a playable, you're going to be playable character, aren't you, Aggro? So, you know, your face set, your walking sprite and your battler sprite, those 3 assets are what we need. So as long as they all fit, the dimensions and everything is the same, and that whole aesthetics, then yes, totally. Yay. Has to be a special kind of storm, right? So let's copy and paste that. It's cool lore. World building is one of my favourite things. Yeah, it's always really exciting. I've always wanted to build a world for a while before I even started this project, so the fact I'm doing it now is lots of fun. Legions is in the village of Darkwood, which is inside the Ethereal Forest. Awesome, Akira. Well, you know, it's great that we know where you are. For sure. There's a lot of characters on the the forms that have left it all more open-ended, so it'll be cool to think where they'll appear to. Yay, I'm excited. If the art didn't match what we already there, for sure won't ask for it. Yeah, for sure, Agra. I'm excited to see. Excited to see what it's gonna look like. I might try my hand at modifying a sprite sheet for my character. The generator doesn't have too many options. I really enjoy world building too. Yeah, I've said, like, because a couple of people in the community did actually do the assets themselves. Now I just say, if you've actually got a copy of RPG Maker MV, then yeah, if you want to have full control over your character's look, then you can actually open the generator yourself if you've got a copy, and save the sprites and just send them to me in a DM or something. I mean, it saves me a bit of time and you get the character look you want, so it win-win, I say. And the main thing is, as long as it's clearly looks the same as the other characters and all then it's fine. Then it's fine. So for sure, Van, if that's something you want to do, then yeah, I know that who was it who did it now? Yeah, it was Whitewat and Storm Eagle were people that made their own, because they actually own RPG Maker MV as well, so they did it in the character generator themselves. Really enjoy world building too, yay. So if raindrops are a thing the world revolves around, there are probably plenty of professions studying it. Scientists that study and experiment with raindrops, yeah. And you know, because everything's so open at the moment, there's so much room to make your ideas possible, guys, or at least have them there as a potential option. I think when we have like a world building stream, it'd be great if we get some sort of draw.io up or something, a blank sheet, and get all the ideas down, and you guys can see them then, and we can chat about them all, and then we see where we go. If there's ever a clash, like it say there's like ideas, then we can only pick one, then we do a poll or something and see what tops it, and they're always fun to do. So I'm going to copy what Mia says again, because this is all really good stuff. Have a special element within them. And thinking that way right now, I certainly have the time. Yay! Element X. I'm an ideas girl. I can just keep throwing them, but please tell me if it gets annoying. Oh yeah, because of like the way our stream is at the moment, our community size, it's definitely not too overwhelming right now when it comes to ideas. Of course, if like say chat was super busy and like 10 people were saying ideas, then it probably would get overwhelming. I wouldn't say annoying, because I'm always very grateful, and it's always very exciting to know that there's plenty of ideas. But it's definitely manageable right now, you know, like the size of our community, and so I'm never going to be like, oh no, but it's definitely easier to just get them all saved, and I always like have a look at them after stream, and I put them in folders relevant to what the subject matter's on. So what Mia's been saying is about raindrops, so I've got like a folder about raindrop currency, so all the raindrop currency stuff goes in there, and then when I'm like, oh, let's do a lore stream on raindrops, and I'll get all those ideas out and get them put out on a sort of document for us all to see and brainstorm or something. We can create some sort of corrupted raindrops used for transforming people into monster. Yeah, so sometimes I might like not reply to every single idea straight away, and that's because usually I have to process it all first, because it's sometimes you need to sit and read and have a good think, don't you? But I'm always very excited by ideas. At the end of the day, ideas are better than no ideas. The more ideas you have, the more chance we're going to have something super awesome, right? But yes, Akira is right. Raindrops are the currency of the world, but there's so much potential with them, because that their use could be extended further to like healing items. I mean, we haven't had an item stream yet, We've had like brief discussion about items, but we haven't really implemented items and set any in stone yet. So there's a lot of potential for having those items link with the whole water and raindrop theme too. It's a possibility anyway. All I know is I don't want standard boring potion. You know, if we called it potion and that was it, it feels like that's the lazy thing, you know. There's no real thought behind it. So it'd be cool if we have something really connected to the game and what we've got so far for our items. And I know that there was a bit of talk of that last stream, so I've got all that as well. That's all saved. I'm really proud of you for doing this as a collaborative effort. Makes me want to work on my fantasy book again. Ooh, fantasy book, what's that about, Mia? That sounds fun. But yeah, it's you know, this is a community project. That's what I call it. So it would be a little bit, well, if it was just me and I was like, no chat, no ideas, that's it now, it would be kind of a lie, wouldn't it, to call it a community game. So it is 100%, you know, this is why, you know, I stream it so we can do it together and we can come up with cool things. Because if I didn't want to do that, I'd just do it in my bedroom in silence, in the dark, and I'd do it all on my own. It's called Tales of Aether and it takes place on a floating continent. Oh my goodness, yeah, do it. Don't hold back. That sounds exciting. And what's the plan for today, Miss? Well, Neville, we've been working on battle system stuff. It's probably going to be very, very much focused on battle system stuff for the next couple of weeks before we move on to some other tasks. But some of it I might do off stream because I know battle mechanic tasks can get very technical and a little bit dull sometimes when you're trying to do all the maths and all the formulas, because it's a lot of experimentation and trial and error, and also it needs focus too, doing those kind of things, and sometimes stream isn't the best place for doing that. But we'll see how it goes. I'm going to play it by ear for the next couple of weeks, but if I'm finding that the battle mechanic stuff is a bit like difficult to do on stream, I might like do it off stream and then keep the stream more discussion and lore focused. But we'll see, because I might mix it up. I might do like some battle stuff for a bit but then switch to something else. I always like to switch things up because it keeps me enjoying it, you know. I think if you get too rigid about things, you could easily burn out. I had someone come in stream once, this was a while back now, but someone basically said you should do it all at once, you should do all the sprites in one go, or something along those lines. I can't remember because it was a while ago. And I suppose it's a lot, everybody does things how they want to do. Every approach, there's no wrong or right. You know, nobody should do something a certain way, and that doesn't mean it's the right way. If they like doing it that way, that's totally fine for them. That's how they work, but I don't, and I'd never tell somebody else how to do their work either. It's pretty rude. So yes. And I completely forgot about it. I really have to continue the After Raindrop Chronicles Legion side fiction. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I want to see fan fiction and all that of Raindrop Chronicles. I'm not going to lie. Such things is always very fun and exciting to see. Hi all, how's your Friday going? Hi Forgotten, how you doing? It's good to see you. It's so good to see you, Forgotten. I hope you're having a good week. Yeah, some people do. Some people come in the streams because they actually love the whole bug stuff and problem solving and the more logical things. I'm not really I'm not really made for that, in all honesty. The logical side of things is where my weak points are. And I would feel a bit self-conscious on... I still feel a little bit self-conscious on stream doing those sort of things because I'm still learning. But in all honesty, I want to try and push this project and community as a very story-driven, geeky lore place hangout, if that makes sense. Like a place for people who like geeking out about characters and writing lore together. And this, I think, of course, we're going to have the odd more technical stream in between those, because sometimes it's going to be that, because it's whatever needs to be done on the day or the week. But I must say, I like to let people know what this project's about, that's the heart of it, really. Lore, characters, storytelling, especially because I'm streaming science and technology, and a lot of the science and technology streams are more technical, to be expected. It's programming, it's game dev, should I say. And unfortunately there isn't really a creative category that fits for storytelling more, which is unfortunate. I think it would be great if Twitch had a writing or world building category in creative, because I think that's such a big creative thing, but yet it's not there. Because that'd be pretty cool, that'd be pretty neat for this stream, especially when we are more focused on the story part of things. I'd love a terminology stream at some point. It would be later in development, but finding unique names for items, things in the world is so fun. I know for sure, and I agree. I'm gonna copy. I'm literally copying everything Mia's saying, because I don't want to forget any of it, because it's all very useful. I can tell that Mia knows how to do all this stuff, your stuff when it comes to storytelling. So it's all very, very insightful for me. And if you need some help with balance and battle stuff, I could always try to help. Oh, thank you, Neville. I appreciate that. Well, what I do, guys, so I've got the Discord here, and I actually do have a skill discussion section. Oh, I can see it's been posted in by Legion. Yeah, so what I'll do, if I ever get any weird problems, or there's any skills in particular I'm trying to implement but it's proving to be a challenge, I'll write in this channel and I'll make a post. And of course I'll probably mention it on stream anyway whenever I'm doing them, because that's going to be next week. I'll be working on making sure some of the very first skills of the skill tree are done. And we did start that a few months back, but I need to tidy it up, and there's some very challenging vampire skills for Rose that have to be implemented, and I was in the process of doing those. So I'll probably post in there. I usually post on the RPG Maker support forum as well if there's ever any difficulties or issues, and people usually are very good at getting back to you there. But I'll post in here as well for sure. Hi Nikki, how you doing? It's good to see you. I'm doing good. Was downtown yesterday and it was 30 degrees Celsius, and out of nowhere it started pouring. Had no umbrella with me. It was a mess. Oh no. Yeah, I always have to have my umbrella. It's never good getting wet. A writing category would be great. I've been lazy writer for years, start projects but never finish them. Oh Mia, that's totally understandable. In all honesty, Raindrop Chronicles is going to be one I finish, because I've been the same in the past. And I think doing it on Twitch, doing it on stream, doing it with the community makes such a difference as well, because it's accountability, isn't it? You having that people there who are also enjoying it just makes you want to stick to it even more. And I talked about that in my Stay Motivated video on my YouTube actually. It's just very true. Moon Shadow. I have 6 fiction projects which are stuck. My main, which is an SCP fiction, I didn't even touch it for a year, yes. And it's very easy to do that when life takes over and there's so many other things to do. Things that you love can take a back seat. That's for sure. Sometimes, yeah, you have to like think of something to make sure you stick to it. You have to be very disciplined, I guess. I'm always willing to come up with ideas to help out. Yeah, oh, that's great. Honestly, guys, for sure, like, we've got the Discord here, and if there's anything that ever springs to mind, just throw it in the relevant channel, guys. Twitch makes you accountable, so that helps you get things done. It really does. It really does. Happy Friday. Yeah, happy Friday. National, how are you doing? It's good to see you, National. Hope you're doing well. The only thing I complete on him is my own SCP, his whole description. Yeah. Well, I believe in you all. I believe you can all do it. But it's totally understandable when things don't get finished, because life. It's silly. Life is silly and gets in the way. If only we could all clone ourselves to do the stuff, and we can get all our creative projects done. Right, guys, so let's have a think here. So I'm actually going to have a quick peek at something, because some amazing links got sent to me the other day. So I'm just hiding the screen for now, because I don't, people's private information and stuff, I don't want, because I've got Mia's DM open at the moment, and then I'll get Van's open, because they sent some pretty handy links. Let's have a peep again. Ooh. It's fun, it's great when you see all this stuff, because sometimes, let's just zooming so I want everyone to make sure they can see. Sometimes you just don't think, do you? You think, oh yeah, monuments, and oh yeah, shops, oh yeah, dangerous, like, you know, just such things that you don't consider. But when you do consider, they really flesh out the world, so it really helps. Over time, I'd love to like get a Google Doc, or like we say, some kind of very easy accessible thing that's mostly just text, whether it's a wiki or a Google Doc or something that has all this sort of thing slowly filled in. And of course, right now, while things are very early on, a lot of things won't be fleshed out fully, but we'll get the ideas in anyway. And over time, it'll be slowly filled out, and it'll also be a great way for people to quickly be informed as well, so we don't get any clash of information and ideas too, so everybody can come to an understanding of how things are in this world. And we also had this one too. Loads of really cool, interesting questions like, what is the world called? We don't even have a name for the world yet. I'd really, really love to one day, and I don't know if it's the right time yet, because we haven't really had enough chats about the world, or even considered. We want the world name to obviously fit with the lore as well. We don't want it to be completely random. So it'll probably be nice to come up with that name a little bit in the future, obviously before episode 1's release. But when we've got a little bit more understanding of things, we'll like probably add name suggestions and put up a poll or something when the time comes. And there's just so many other things as well that just you don't think about, and it's all very, very fascinating. So thanks, guys. Maybe I should get my chat to help me. Right, you should. That one is a really good list to copy pasta. Then you can just expand on it. The Raindrop Codex, yeah. And of course we have things like the website and the YouTube, which I make little videos on. Like that'll still be there, but it's just such a good idea to have that source for you guys that has all the information just in plain text as well, because it's a very accessible thing to have it laid out like that too. So for sure, that would be a good idea. And I think you should, Mia. I mean, it's frustrating because there's no Twitch category on writing. So, of course, us streamers, we want exposure and we want people to discover our project. And when there's not a proper category for it, it can just be a bit frustrating to know where to go in so people can find us. But I still say that shouldn't stop people. You do what you want on stream, you know, and eventually people have found out about this project, so it's working okay. And is that the link I gave you? Yeah, it is, Van. It is. I've got yours and Mia's here that you sent me, so it's all gonna, like, these questions in particular, great, and so are these. I'm very interested in all this as well. And I mean, we've got geography here, time, history, race, and all that sort of thing. Time's a very interesting one too, because we haven't thought about what the months are called in this world, what the festivals and special seasonal events are called. It's these sort of things. I mean, there was a time we was doing some scene making a couple of weeks ago, right? And we were thinking of dialogue together, and there was a particular line where somebody mentioned that, I think it might have been Christmas. There was a dialogue line that said Christmas in it, and it was great. I remember it being really a great piece of dialogue, but the only problem was we don't know if there's Christmas in this world, so we couldn't have that. So, you know, but when we do know what those things are, we can put them into the dialogue, and it's a good way for people to be, you know, introduced to the world without exposition thrown in their face. You just like slot it in there, and people are like, oh, is that Christmas in this world then? And it's even more fun when it's a dialogue line that's entertaining, and, you know, you're also finding about the world at the same time. Feel like getting down the world building would definitely help to get people's ideas in order, for sure. And because stream time is so, like, I always say this because it's all about chat. Like, I've been streaming for how long now? An hour? Been streaming an hour, and we've done no work, basically. We've just been chatting. And honestly, this is what the streams are about. It's not about doing the work, it's about talking. And of course, I'm going to be updating you. I love to update you guys on the development, be like, yeah, we're doing this at the moment, this is what we're working on, and this is where we are. But we don't actually really get to be productive in streams because it's not possible, in all honesty. When you because I'm the sort of streamer, I never ignore my chat. I always respond to everything that I possibly can. Sometimes I'm very slow and I have to scroll back, but I always try to read it, even if I read it 5 minutes later. So because that's the sort of streamer I am, and I always will be like that, you know, unless my chat was like that, then it would be impossible. But, you know, I always try, and because it's like that, we don't get much work done, and I'd never want to change. I'd never want to be like, okay, I'm going to ignore chat now so I can do work. That's not the sort of stream this is. So yeah, I want to kind of make it more conversation focused from now on, which it's always been that way anyway, but I want to kind of more so it be a chat, discussion, world building, just chatting about the game in general rather than actually doing the work. And work will sometimes be done in the background, of course, but I'm never going to punish myself for not getting much done on stream, because that's not what the streams are about. That it's off stream where I do the work, not on stream. Let's catch up with chat then. And well, Rose, I'm basically done and ready to head out to meet my doom. Wish me luck. If you haven't heard from me within the next 12 hours, she probably strangled me. Good luck, Moon. You'll be fine. I hope you have a lovely day, and let me know how it all goes. Have a fantastic day. Love and prayers are with you. Sending you our good luck wishes. I'm sure it'll go better than you think. Yay. Take care, Moon. Thanks so much for hanging out. These sort of things flash out the world and make things more real, even if they mean little to the game as far as the hero's main story. Exactly, Van. And I'm going to also say, like, even if, say, we've got all this lore, all this detail, and episode 1 only talks about 2% of it, it doesn't matter, because writers, even if the game as a whole, even when it's finished, only talks about 10% of it, it doesn't matter. Just knowing the world helps so much, I think, and will help so much. It doesn't mean we have to fit it all in the game and find a way to force it in players' faces. Even just having that lore behind the scenes while we're writing it will just go a long way, for sure. And so what Van says is a very good point. And we should have Christmas. Christmas is the best period of year. I definitely think there should be seasonal festivals in Raindrop Chronicles. I'd say it would have its own version of Christmas, I'm sure. I think the lore around Christmas and why Christmas exists would probably be different, but I'd love a gift-giving sort of festival happening in our world. It'd be awesome if it all fit, and made sense in the world, the reason why they give gifts and that. But of course we've got to have a gift-giving season. That's always lovely. We've got to have a Halloween type of season too, but it'd be the Raindrop Chronicles version of it all. But yeah, it does make it more real, and I've always said, like, I want Raindrop Chronicles to just have like a really good lore. I'd love people to say, one good thing about this game is the lore. I'd be absolutely screaming if someone said that about our game. So yeah, that's goals for me, and I think stream's the best place to do that, because that's where the ideas bounce off each other. Like, me thinking of lore on my own is a hard task, because I could have ideas totally, but those ideas might not be stretched to their fullest potential, and you need other people to really get those really good ideas coming and thought about in the first place. We've done work. So many ideas and strategizing, planning and conversation is work. I think you're great. You go super in depth with the things you talk about, and I appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Mia. Yeah, I'm just very passionate about having something meaningful with this game. I mean, it's a cute retro 2D RPG, you know. I mean, it's nothing like super realism, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can still make a very deep, simple, minimal looking game. And RPG Maker, the reason I was drawn to that particular engine, I mean, not only because I was brought up on it and it's nostalgic for me, but also because it gives us the freedom to focus on storytelling and building a world rather than getting all technical with the game. I didn't want to do Unity or anything like that, because I knew that would take months and months out of the rest of the project, and you know, we wouldn't get time to really build that world if I was focusing on all that instead. So the fact that RPG Maker is pretty straightforward to use. I mean, it can be a little bit more challenging if you want to do more creative things in it, which I've experienced, but it's still fine, totally doable if you think enough. But you know, it's easy to use, and it just gives us time to chat more rather than actually code. Lore is so important in an RPG. We are creating the world together, I know, and it's just a lot of fun, guys, and to geek out. I think we all need it in our lives. We need fiction, especially in these times, which is why one of the rules of this stream isn't really to talk about real life, because it takes us out of this fantasy world we're making once real life comes into the conversation, you know. I've been looking at Unity. It takes a lot more work, I think. Yes, it's some people Unity's perfect for some, because they want to create a game that they've got complete flexibility over and there's no limitations. So that's totally understandable, but you got to be realistic that if you're not a coder, it's going to take a big chunk of development just getting to grips with the software, you know. And I'm not prepared to do that. I'm not prepared to take months out of this project just learning. I wanna make a story. That's all I care about reading, you know. That's the main thing I care about anyway. So yes, guys, I guess it's thinking if we are gonna have a lot more world building sort of streams in the future, what do you guys think would be particular good ones to talk about? Because look at all of this, you know, there's so much and it's so exciting, but we got to start somewhere, haven't we? We got to pick one of these and start. I suppose it makes sense to start on what's relevant to where we are in the game right now, which is raindrops. I mean, all the talk has been about raindrops and the current scene. It'd be cool to expand on that side of things, and that'll help a bunch and probably help us branch off into some of these others. But maybe there's some really super particularly important ones here that would be a good idea to consider first on these particular lists that we've got here. Magic system is always fun. Having magic be fueled by raindrops could be very cool indeed. And like we have the hero is either a warrior or a hunter, so he's just typical non-magic DPS build character. And then we've got Rose, who's a vampire. But we are gonna have, I know Van's character is a priest. And we haven't done Van's character sheet yet because he's one of the new ones. But that is a healer class that will be in the game. So, you know, healing, magic. It'd be cool to somehow think about how all that's going to work for sure. Have we got a magic one here? Let me have a look and see what we've got. Here we go. Yeah, gods and stuff like that. Yeah, probably you and I are going to be chatting about him a bit, yes. And of course we got Van's character that's a priest, but we also have Swedish Beard's character who's a sorcerer as well. And honestly, there's more, and there's some that haven't even been taken yet that are still up for grabs as characters. Illusionists, I can't even think off the top of my head, but they're all there. There's no limits with where we could go, really. But the gods thing is interesting. Another thing that I found interesting, let me find it because I saw it. It was staring at me in the face. Stars, suns, moons, and planets. Okay, guys, I want to mention something because this is very relevant. Let me get it up. In Carol's flashback scene, and a lot of you don't even know what happens in this scene. Only the people who hung out in stream while we were actually doing the dialogue and scene for this would know. So I'm going to get it up now. And I am going to release this as a scene once it's done. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be put all over the place. But it isn't quite done yet, so there's nothing to officially show. But there's a conversation about stars here. And it's pretty interesting. And the conversation itself is, I kind of purposely kept it quite open. I didn't want to set in stone too much lore about the stars just yet, but there's definitely stuff to go off here. I'm trying, because he talks about it again here. And do we mention gods as well? Not gods, no, but leaders and rulers of the past. And Hank's the knowledgeable one, guys. His kind of goal is to be the knowledgeable one and find more knowledge, seek more knowledge in his barrel life. So he's not lying. Whatever Hank says is the truth unless he's been misinformed. But I'd say Hank's very trustworthy, and what he has to say is probably the true law. I think it'd be pretty cool if You know, he's the one that gives any insight that we want to say. But there is a conversation where Meryl talks about the stars and what they are, but it's all a lie. That's all made up nonsense, what Meryl said there, because she's a troll. She's a troll. but Hank's truthful. So I think it'd be cool if I summarised some of this, like so you guys who haven't seen this dialogue, or pretty like new to all this, and get the main bits, and who knows what stuff we could come up. That's just one small part. It honestly just triggered me when I saw this. I was like, stars and moons, I was like, oh gosh, the conversation with the barrels in Carol's flashback, which happens in main quest 2, by the way. So pretty early on in the game. Once we start main quest 2, Carol talks to the hero, because Carol's she's pretty main character in the game. Carol talks to the hero and flashback starts, and if anyone is intrigued, we do have the non-community characters here. You can read a little brief character profile about them here, but they're the ones that are in that particular scene about the stars. Might be interesting to make, because the conversation says the stars are watching out for us. I'll summarize it right now. I mean, I haven't really gone on, so with my dialogue, and I know a lot of people are probably with me on this, I don't like to throw information at people, because I like to reveal lore in very, very carefully, in a way where it's entertaining. And I liked it here because we're revealing stuff about the stars in a way where a grandfather is telling a story to his son, and it's quite endearing, and I like doing things that kind of make the characters more interesting at the same time and make us grow to like these characters as we're learning about the world. As rain is so valuable, would it make sense that elements would be deities, like you pray to the wind goddess to bring rain or something like that? Rose, do you see yourself maybe down the line we see some Eldritch area? Because I was thinking of giving some Eldritch background for my character. I'll reply to all this in a sec, guys, don't you worry. I'm going to just read it all first to make sure to take it all in. And stars are like dots in the sky, just like raindrops are drops falling to the earth. An exposition is always best delivered via narrative integration. 100%. I have a pet peeve for lore exposition thrown randomly when the reader hasn't yet grown attached to this world. You have to get them interested first before you tell them stuff, and even then it has to be revealed, never just thrown all in the player's face at one point. Reveal it very slowly, and you're just far more interested like that. And anyway, let's catch up with chat. So Forgotten said, honestly, in answer to that, Forgotten, I like to make sure Raindrop Chronicles is it's an anything's possible kind of world. It's a bit like a kitchen sink. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that trope. If you've been on tvtropes.org, I'm a nerd for that website. There's a particular trope called kitchen sink, which means it's a fantasy world that's literally everything. You can have, magic, demons, vampires, any kind of beast race, or any themes at all, just a mishmash of themes, and it's a world where anything's possible sort of thing. So yes, I don't want to be like, oh no, that can't be there, or that's not going to ever exist, sorry. I like you guys to sort of, especially when it comes to your own characters in the game, have a little vision there. So Raindrop Chronicles is going to be a world in many different regions, and the regions are all going to have their own themes and feels to them. We've got the Everbloom Forest, and that's a very enchanted, very bright kind of area. But other areas will be very different, I'm sure. And I like touching on different themes. It just keeps things very exciting as well, and not samey. lets you kind of get creative with different things there. And gotta spread breadcrumbs. Yeah, exactly. Breadcrumbs it is. And the only thing I would say for guest characters is encouraging making them grounded and not too Mary Sue-ish. Yeah, Mary Sue, that's an interesting trope, because it basically means, as far as I'm aware, someone who's very OP, a character that has no flaws whatsoever, right? Have I got that one right? They're just perfect. And I don't like perfect characters. I like them all to have their flaws and fears, you know, and something that just more human, more real. And I'm a big nerd for characters that are very real and flawed human beings. Great attitude for everything they do. Yeah, so I mean, guys, like, I want you guys to have complete control over who you're creating. That's what I think that's exciting for you guys, to have control over your characters. But of course, their character arcs, where we take them, and if you want to have like a say on those, yeah, totally make a Google Doc. But the outcome and how things might turn out might not be, you know, things might go unexpected with the characters. Their characters might take a turn, and we might add a flaw here and there if we want to make them a little bit more layered. You know, I think it's cool for us as the community to have some control over the characters that are created as well, for sure. But so yeah, Mia's got a point. But anyway, guys, so I'm gonna make sure I'm copying what Van and Mia are saying, because it's pretty on the subject. It's very much on the subject of lore and stuff that I'm gonna want to reread later when I'm off stream. But what I am planning to do, because this isn't the only dialogue we've had, this is one, but we've also got others that might bring up some of these particular subjects and topics. And I think it'd be a really cool idea if we get out on a document what is set in stone already in this game, so we know from the dialogue. Like, for example, where's it gone? Where's it hide? Like this, you know, the stars conversation. That's something we don't want to miss. I don't want to let that. I don't want to let you guys not be aware of this conversation. I know we haven't released the cutscene yet publicly because I'm perfecting it. Meryl's side view sprite looked really goofy about a week ago, and I didn't want to release the cutscene when she looked really goofy. But since doing Meryl's character sheet, it looks much better now. So I'll be able to finalise that cutscene maybe this weekend, but we'll see. Because I want to make sure it's at least of a good standard before it's put out publicly. But at the end of the day, I can still get some of the key points summarised from this and other conversations. I'm tempted to get a Google Doc up right now, actually. Because I think this will be really handy. And I know that we was gonna... The plan for today's stream was for me to get the hero sprites finished for the weapon assets, which are going very well, by the way. I did all the warrior yesterday, and it's just the hunter to do now. But it's one of those things, doing assets, especially when it's repetitive, you need to maintain that focus. And I don't know if stream's the best place to do that kind of thing. So I'm kind of switching to this today, you know, doing this Google Doc thing with you guys, because I think it's a really handy thing to do as well, in all honesty. So I'm just getting one up now. So let's catch up with chat. Yeah, I just love H.P. Lovecraft's work and the world he has built. So if we possible have something like old gods and eldritch horror in the lore somewhere, like we find some very old artifacts that speak of such horrors, or maybe they are mentioned in the old forgotten stories or something. Yeah, and your idea there, Forgotten, might actually link or branch off some other kind of themes we've got. Like if you ever do fancy having a peek at the characters we've got here, you never know, your idea could merge into somebody else's. Like, I don't know if Legion is 100% the same theme, but he is a demon, and there is talk of like dark sort of forests and darker, more horror kind of themes with Legion's character. So you never know what you're imagining could kind of be from the similar world or region that we've got planned here. So you never know. I mean, it doesn't have to link 100%. It could be something that branches from that, but you never know. But yes, kitchen sink. Let me get that trope up, because I kind of want to... I honestly think that that's Raindrop Chronicles genre kitchen sink. It's a funny word, funny term, but it really basically is that. That's it, fantasy kitchen sink. And hi Nungi, how you doing? It's wonderful to see you. Yeah, so... yeah, everything is true, even if it comes from a vastly different origin. So not only are there fairies, ghosts, vampires, werewolves, mummies, zombies, aliens, time travellers, espers, angels, demons, gods, eldritch abominations, there we go, forgotten, precursors, magic and so on. Like, literally everything exists in the world. It's very fantastical, you know. It's a mishmash of things. Many wonderful stories in media have this. There's always risk of things ending up a bit silly or chaotic or out of place, but my job is to make sure everything fits. I kind of want to try my hardest to make a world that isn't convoluted. I want it to make sense. I don't like convoluted things, guys. I'm not a fan. So I'm definitely not going to be making a game that is too convoluted if I can help it. But that doesn't mean we have to limit ourselves when it comes to fantastical elements and themes. We should be able to have whatever we want. It's fun. It's fun. So yeah, anyone who hasn't been on TV Tropes, I definitely recommend it. It's a really, really cool website. I've wasted hours on this website. It's great for writers. Great inspiration source. I would love it if some of these characters had pre-existing relationships or at least had heard of each other. Should be private. Yes, that is so good, Mia, because right now they're all their own individual human, aren't they? Apart from these guys, these that I've highlighted here, Carol, Meryl, Ava, Hank and Woody, these are a family, you know, they're their own little family community of containers, and because of that, they just feel so fleshed out already, even though we've not really spent much time with them as characters. In all honesty, we've only made one scene with these guys in so far. The community in general get excited over these characters, and I you know, they just feel fleshed out, and I think the fact that they have this little family together and relationship with each other has gone a long way there. So for sure, like, having these eventually link, and some of them know of each other, some of them backstory is linked, would be super cool. This Poppy Papercut is a great character because she is obsessed with Rose. She's an obsessed Rose fan, and I really liked how Legmog, when creating his character, made it link to mine. And there's other instances of that on the character sheets too. But it'd be really cool. Another cool idea would be to have a stream or a couple of streams where we get all these characters, we think where they could be from in the world, speculate where they'd be from in the world, whether they'd be from a city, a mountain area, a farm, a desert, etc. Think about their location, because it'll help us have an idea for when in the game we'll eventually encounter them. And also, if some of them have relationships with each other as well, it'll just kind of make things quite exciting with these guys as well. They won't just feel like separate characters, and it'll also, you know, you guys might have an idea when you might come in the game then as well. And yeah, that would be interesting to have some of the characters knowing of each other. Yeah, and for sure, well, that's something we as the community can decide too. Like, just by reading the character sheets, we can think, they could fit together. They could sort of work, you know. based on what he said in the character sheet. But yes, I've got a Google Doc up. I don't know if there's a way to have dark mode. I just don't want you guys to be blinded, but I think the last time I had dark mode on Google Docs, it messed up stuff. Like the text was all weird or something, but hang on, let me say. Tools. We don't need like a super dark mode on him, but just something that isn't bright white. But I don't know if there is one. Oh, hang on. One sec, I just want to check something. No. Anyway, I've opened this one because I like the text in this, so we can copy and paste it. Okay. Oh no, I've got rid of it. What is it? Cavat or something is the text. Oh, it's there now. It's there. Okay, so I have an MP idea, but we'll of course wait until I earn those raindrops. 2 secs, I'll research their extensions, what browser you're using. I'm using a Google Chrome, so yeah. Google Chrome usually is good, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, when it comes to getting the raindrops to be a character, it is increasing. The more time that goes on, the more the raindrop amount will be increased, and that's just so we can keep control over the amount of characters we get. But at the end of the day, there's absolutely no rush. We're still going to be here this time next year, and the year after that, doing this project. You know, it's an epic fantasy. I will DM. Awesome, Mia. Thank you. Okay, so what I am gonna get up, I want to do this world building stuff. So, what have we got here? So the natural world. I mean, both of these are absolutely great. This link here and this one, I'm probably gonna merge them both. But because I'm gonna kind of go with the stars one first because that's what's relevant. And I'm gonna completely read through every single dialogue we've had so far in the game, and because it's still very early days, we're only at the end of main quest 2 here, there's not too many scenes, so it's going to be totally doable to see what we've got and what we haven't got yet and get something. And Echo, thank you so much for the follow, appreciate that, welcome. Would be very interesting to see the community characters interact with each other if possible. Yes, for sure. And if anybody has any ideas, like if you in particular, like for how they could interact, or any particular characters that you think could make an interesting combination, then feel free to say, for sure. It's always a good idea to have something to go off. Right, so what was it called? I'm going to move these here. So there's a lot of tabs. I've got up stars, suns, moons, and planets. Now, I might make this a different text because it's a... So I kind of think, yeah, I don't know about that big, but I like having the fancy text to like as a main heading for each of the sections. But maybe a little bit. Okay, so I'm starting with this one only because, well, not just because it's the first one on the list. In all honesty, it's because of that scene about the stars. I kind of want to get all that information out. and written, so it'll help get the ideas flowing. I have copied and pasted stuff that both Van and Mia Byte said, because I know there was some ideas you guys had there, and I will definitely be looking at those as well, because some of them could be a fit. And I send, okay, I'm going to have a look at that. Is it complex to set up? No, it's just an extension, I say. So that should be okay. Add to Chrome. This will be better for you guys, because I don't want to blind anybody. Do I need to refresh? Let's see. There we go, we've done it. That wasn't too bad, was it? How's that, guys? Is that better? Okay, so could we zoom in a little bit more? I want you to be able to see as much as possible. There we go. And I'll probably format it better when I'm a little bit late. I'm gonna just probably have it any old how for now. Just want to get that information in first. Okay, so the barrel and her companions on a cart at night time. So Oliver says the skylights look so pretty, and he calls them skylights because he doesn't even know that they're called stars. Because the scene at the moment, yes, they're on a cart. They're about their containers, their barrels. So they're on a cart on a travelling route, and it's night, so there's stars in the sky, so it's a perfect time to talk about stars. And we're doing it by little cute precious Oliver, who is like a little cutie pie in the game. He kind of has the role of being the cute character who everyone wants to look after because he's a precious boy. So he's like the one who started it all. But Carol's his adoptive mother. She's like, they're called stars. And he's like, what are stars? Now, what Carol and Meryl say here is fiction. It's not the real meaning of stars. So she says stars, but it's still something that's interesting. We can still have like what the stories, like fairy tales are in the world of Raindrop Chronicles, as we call them, because that's always fun to think about what the fairy tales are, and they definitely are the fairy tales. But what Hank says here is the real knowledge, and we'll come to that in a sec. So actually we'll start with Hank, being as that's the real one. I'm trying to think of how to format that, not this. And I don't want it to be written too confusing either. I want to try and keep it simple and short if possible, but we'll see. So here he is. Okay, so here's the information. And we're at the stage in our current, this cutscene, that it's not 100% finalised. I'm totally open to changing tiny bits of the dialogue if something makes a better fit. Because once the cutscene gets released, I'm going to pop it on the Discord channel when it's done. I'm going to basically say to you guys, if you've got any feedback, like very small, any small little changes at all that you recommend with this cutscene, whether it's words or changing of the dialogue slightly, or sound effects, or little small things that can easily change, then I'll totally consider that. The only thing we couldn't change with cutscenes is obviously the big stuff, because it takes a while to do. And oh my goodness, Top Bra, how you doing? Thank you so much for that raid. Help, thank you for the follow, I appreciate that. How are you doing, Top Bra? How was your stream? Thank you so much for bringing your community over. I appreciate that. How'd it go? And how's that your game going? How's the, because Top Bra recently released a game on Steam. I said stream then. On Steam. And Oliver is the most important character. I'll fight every horror imaginable to protect him. That's the aim. If we can get the majority of players, I mean, you can't please everyone, can you? But if we can get the majority of players to feel the way Forgotten feels about Oliver, then we're doing good. So yeah, Hank. So what I'm trying to say is Hank's dialogue here, we can always change the odd word or the odd lore tidbit if necessary at this point, because the cutscene hasn't been finalised quite yet. At some point we will have to say it's done and dusted for our own sanity, otherwise we'll never get anything done. But right now I'll be flexible enough with some of this, but we'll still get it all in, because, you know, I think what we've got here is definitely cool. And we might come up with some really fascinating things from this, who knows. Ooh, don't like that. Let's just write it out again, because sometimes I prefer to write it out myself anyway, rather than copy and paste, because I can take it in again. So, stars are rulers and leaders of the past. So, they are commonly, we don't know who any of these rulers or leaders are, because we haven't fleshed that out. We don't know who past kings were or past leaders in the Raindrop Chronicles world, so it'd be kind of cool if eventually who knows, we'll have a chance to flesh that out if there's ever a good time to do that. They are commonly known throughout the lands as the legends of old. And that was just the name I thought of at the time, because I was making the cutscene and I was like, we need a name. It's a good name for now. I'll be flexible if there's ever any other ideas, and if we get multiple ideas, can totally do a poll. But those pretty lights, their soul shine down. So the actual stars that you see physically are their souls. So we'll say the souls. So stars are the souls of rulers and leaders of the past. Shall we bold any important bits? So stars are the souls of rulers and leaders of the past. They're commonly known through the lands as the legend. And also they're pretty famous. It's a very known thing. It's a bit like gods, isn't it? It's like it's a known thing throughout the world. So that's one important bit. Let's get any other important bits in that we need, because this is super important. There might be other stuff. All good over here. How are you? I'm doing good, Top Bra. We're doing some lore stuff today. I'm finding that lore stuff is definitely the direction I want to take the streams in, just because it's so very fun to chat about and discuss. Do you release a game on Steam? Me or Top Bra? Top Bra already has, but me, this episode 1 is still in development. But definitely when we get to a point where we're happy with the content and things are getting a little bit more full with episode 1, the time will come when platforms will be thought about. I mean, probably be more sensible to think of that earlier rather than later, but at the same time, we don't want to get distracted too much, because we want to get the game, want to get the content in as well. The game is going all right. We're up to 15 patches now, so hopefully we're getting quite stable. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Super cool. Falcon, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. It could be cool story-wise if there's a major death in the plot, but it becomes a new star in the night sky. Oh, wow, I really like that. This is why this is cool, guys, because I would never have thought of that, and that is really... And there is definitely going to be deaths in Raindrop Chronicles. I mean, we got to be careful, because I don't want to have senseless deaths when when an important character is still in the middle of their character arc and it's just random and dumb that they die. I wouldn't want that. But I'm totally for killing off characters when their time in the story could, you know, has come to a conclusion, and it's just a great time, a great thing to do for the story to kill them off, you know, and it's perfect, you know. Then yes, for sure. Let's get all this read. So maybe at the end of the game all the barrels are destroyed but become a cluster of stars. Yeah. And one thing I do want to say, Raindrop Chronicles is going to have multiple endings, okay? So that might be one ending, you know, like something, because our custom hero can be shaped. He's a bit of a blank slate, our custom hero is. He doesn't really have a personality. They're a mute. The only time there is dialogue from a custom hero is when there's a choice to make. It's very much inspired by a lot of Western RPGs and how dialogue is done, although I think Persona kind of did that kind of thing too. But every time you make a choice with the hero, his personality should slowly get shaped. There's sort of a personality thing going on behind the scenes, and compassion points, bravery points, wisdom points, you'll get plus or minus in those, and depending on the actions you take, certain quests will be locked out to you or available to you. Certain NPCs will treat you differently. Some might full on ignore you and be hostile to you. Others might be friendly to you and approach you. And not only that, but it will affect the ending of the game too, based on what you do. So I love the idea of multiple endings because we're not setting anything in stone. Like something like killing all the barrels off and doing something like Mia said as an example is, a really amazing ending, but it's also an ending that a lot of people might not want to get because they're in love with the barrels, and you know, having those multiple endings because you want to see how it ends is fun in my opinion. So that could totally work as something like one of the endings, and it'll be really great to get like a sort of list of all the ending ideas and then one day kind of shortlist the ones that are most interesting, that could be cute. Yeah, I suppose it's kind of bittersweet because they'd be destroyed, but in a way that where they lived on. So there's something nice about that as well. So those who die live on the night sky and are remembered by those that are left behind, shining down on them and guiding their way. And I like it. I like something like that because it also makes this dialogue that we've had here not pointless. There's never anything fun, in my opinion, about pointless dialogue that doesn't, you know, have any context in the story at a later date or a later point. So if like all this that we've got here, actually something happens, whether it's in the main quest or a side quest or anything, or, you know, be like, oh yeah, that conversation with Hank in that flashback. And I think there's something great about that. Imagine Elvira becoming a star and judging everyone until the end of times. Yeah, if anyone's read Elvira's character sheet, she's one of the barrels. You'll see that she's the sort of barrel that, yeah, she's the worst kind. But at the same time, she's got family values and she's definitely got her good traits, but her bad traits are pretty bad. But I'd love that character to be, you know, really taken on an interesting character arc as well, because that'd be fun. Oh my goodness, top bra is a shower. Yay. Seems we have a bot in here. Yeah, we have Aiken Guy. Bots infiltrate the stream timer extermination. Yeah. Right, guys, I am gonna copy what Mia said because I really like that, and I mean, it'll probably, I want to put, some of it might go in this lore document that we're doing, but I don't want it to go up in chat and for me to miss the chance of making a note of that. Okay. My goodness, Tetsu Rose. Look at that. My goodness me. Look at those raindrops. Tsunami. Okay, so let's this is what Hank says in this dialogue, but there's more. I want to make sure we haven't missed a single dialogue box here. I'm the sort of person, guys, when it comes to writing, I want every dialogue box to have its place. I'm not a fan of fluff at all, but I absolutely love story-driven stuff and dialogue-driven stuff, but not dialogue-heavy. Dialogue-heavy is fine if every single dialogue box has a purpose, you know, then yes. But not for the sake of it, not fluff for the sake of fluff. So this is why this is important to me, looking at this, picking out and putting it in our law document, because then we can make sure that we make these little things have a purpose in the story. So at that point, Oliver asks Hank, are they watching and looking out for us? Because Oliver's a curious little boy, and he always asks questions. He's the curious one. So it's always having a character that's curious, a cute character like Oliver being like asking stuff, and Hank the wise old man. It's kind of a very easy way to add a bit of exposition in without being too heavy-handed, because it makes sense with their characters to do it. But of course, Hank and Oliver at the moment only appear in flashbacks because they're not with us, the hero, in the present day. The only barrel character that is with us in the present day right now is Carol the barrel. She's our inventory. She'll always be with us. So Elvira is like, yes, they are watching and looking out for us. So we can always add that to the document as well. We can say they watch down on, I don't know how us, should we say they on the world, they watch, something don't sound right about that. They watch, they look down, that's it. They look down on the world and watch out for. Just put like that for now. If I have to correct some wording after, that's fine, but I just want to get it all in first. So, and as you can see here, Hank is very, very attached to these stars. He's like mourning them. You know, may they rest in peace in the night sky and forever be a part of it. And then we get another bit of information here. So it's like the sky changes. Yeah, it does. Elvira says they most certainly will remain part of the sky. Don't worry. These two are married, by the way. The sky doesn't change anymore, remember. That's because there isn't anyone worthwhile left. Only corruption exists now. So that's interesting. So from what they say there, the stars don't always remain the same. If there's new leaders, they overwrite the old stars. What Mia said could still totally apply here. In fact, it fits even more, because it seems that if they're a worthwhile leader, if they've done something special as a leader or ruler, then yes, they will become a star in the sky. And Elvira says only corruption exists now. So yeah, the current leaders and rulers will not be stars because they're corrupt and silly. So that's another thing we've found out, that the world is now corrupt. So who's in charge now are not really the sort of leaders we want. And if we've looked at our character sheets, one thing that we do now, we do have some leaders here. We have elite character trait, Torio. He's the Prime Minister. And we also have King Dolus as well. These are our two leaders. So, are they corrupt? Maybe so. Well, one's an antagonist, so yeah, I'd say so. Let's catch up with chat as well. They watch over only those of great importance, heroes, saviours. Yeah, maybe they don't watch over anyone. So have we said that they watch over everyone? Right, so, well, Oliver's like, are they watching and looking out for us? And Navi's like, yeah. And although these characters believe certain things, they're like perceptions, and beliefs could always be false. I mean, I would say Hank is knowledgeable, Hank is trustworthy and has integrity, so I don't think he'd be spreading false stuff like lies. So I believe what Hank says here will mostly be right unless someone's lied to him. But you know, beliefs and that could always be slightly false. So just because Elvira does say yeah they're watching out for us doesn't mean they are. Specifically, if maybe they are, but it doesn't mean they have to be. But yeah, Hank's mourning them, and he really, really admires these current stars in the sky. They're good. Whoever those rulers and leaders are in the sky at the moment are really, really special, honourable people. And we need to get this in and summarise it as much as we can. So yeah, I think everything else isn't really, this is all just finalising the dialogue, but is there anything else that is important to say? Yeah, the only other thing to say would be the fairy tales that Carol and Meryl told. I think they're important to put in just because it would be so cool if there is a foreshadowing for these. Like, I imagined that Meryl's tale here, where she says that the sun eats the stars. It was apparently Axel, the oil drum, Meryl's boyfriend, was the one that told her that story. She confirms it there. And it makes me wonder about Axel and why he's got such a dark, morbid mind. Maybe he's got daddy issues, you know, because he's kind of painted the sun in this villainous light in his fairy tale. And it, you know, whether that's an official story, we don't know. Maybe Axel just made it up, because that's very true as well. And let's catch up with chat. Every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. That could be Carol's quote. My goodness, stalker. That would be Legmock's quote for his character, the Stalker of Rose, I think. Okay, so you in a tough place. They really have you over at Carol. Hey, I am going to copy and paste everything you're saying, guys. I mean, not all of it I've absorbed properly yet, the context of it, because sometimes things can go over my head until I have a proper read off stream. But I like to just copy and paste it anyway, because it's, you never know. You never know. No, I mean, only heroes and saviours become stars. Only those who have sacrificed in some way. Yeah, okay. So that could be true. Let's get all our information in. So, but yeah, so leaders and rulers, and it could honestly anyone that fits into an honourable sort of category could be considered that, I'd say. So yeah, heroes and saviours could be a form of leaders and rulers as well. And in fact, I might add them to the dark. But yeah, all we know is that there aren't any good ones left, and that's why Elvira's saying that the sky doesn't change anymore. It's always those same ones, and has probably been for a while. So I think it'd be really cool to actually have a think of who those souls, those stars in the sky do belong to. You know, are they the gods of this world? Like, we haven't actually said the word gods at all in this particular scene. Gods hasn't been mentioned once, but are they the gods? That's another thing to consider, because the way Hank is talking about them, it could almost be like that. He has a great respect for them anyway. But yeah, that's just something to consider, just like to consider everything. Is Axel a greaser? He is. Axel's like your typical bad boy greaser, yeah. Motorbike dude, I guess. Wears shades. He likes the danger. He's that type. Are those NPC dialogues? They are overclocked. They are indeed. Where have all the good men gone and where are all the stars? Paying off that sentence at the end of the game and having the stars change would be so epic. See, Mia, I couldn't agree more, because there's just such satisfaction from having a payoff, you know, like having a reason for this, like, and it not just being there for the sake of being there. I'm just not a fan of things being there for the sake of being there. Never again does it matter. There's just something really satisfying about the thought, anything at all that's mentioned in dialogues having a purpose at some point in the story, whether it's one of the endings, whether it's something that happens in the main quest or in a side quest, or even an item or anything you find in the world, like, as long as there's some payoff, you know. But let's go back to our documents. So what have we missed out here? Because there's a lot to write and I want to get it all in, but it's wording it so it makes sense as well. I've got some chocolate by me because I'm getting a bit peckish, so I might have some. That's the opening of Holding Out for a Hero, by the way. Oh, really? It's an actual... Is that what a song lyric, is it? Okay. Or is it somewhere else? I missed the reference there. Okay, so stars are the souls of rulers and leaders of the past. Shall we expand on this as well? Shall we put... and heroes as well? I think heroes and saviours are the same thing, I guess. Because although that wasn't one of them Hank said, you know, it could totally fit. I mean, we could always add more, any appropriate ones that would fit. Look down on the world and watch out for they. I mean, this is speculation, I suppose, but they believe it's a belief. It's believed that they look down on the world and watch over everybody. I wasn't sure about the us wording. Yeah, I feel like I want to put it's believed for that one, because I wouldn't like to confirm it as a fact right now. But it's, okay, so, and back to what Elvira said. The sky changes, or the sky changes, but because there's only corruption, because only corruption exists now, or because there isn't anyone worthwhile left, it has stayed the same for X number of years, something like that. Going back to lurking funnel. Oh my goodness, Tetsu, thank you for hanging out and being an awesome lurker. Enjoy your lurk. You can always file this under the religion belief section. Yeah, for sure. Like, this is the natural world, but it also definitely applies to religion and belief too. And I feel that, you know, what we've got here. Where is it? Where's it hiding? Yeah, all these things here might like go into multiple categories, you know. So for sure, but this is exciting, guys, and I'm really glad we're having streams where we bring this stuff up, because I wouldn't like to have been brushed under the carpet, you know. Is that the right phrase? Because it's this scene, you guys are going to see this scene, I know that, and I'm planning on popping it into this particular channel before the month ends. That's been on the cards for a while, so I knew that you'd see it at some point, but I feel like it's important to bring up as soon as possible, because if I didn't, then we wouldn't have had that idea from Mia, you know. So this sort of stuff is what is going to make us come up with a cool a cool game, you know, having this time to discuss things. So the question is, what is the current sun? Yes, and we got sun here and moons, and this is why I want to write the fairy tale part, because Meryl talks about the sun and moon, but it's all a bunch of absolute nonsense what Meryl says, and I think that's kind of to introduce her as a pretty reckless character who's a bit gullible and believes her bad boy boyfriend and his silly stories. And it also shows her as the sort of person who wants to scare a cute little boy like Oliver, even if it's in a very playful way. She's still pretty, she's not the most mature person, Meryl isn't. So I think I really liked how she kind of comes up with that ridiculous fairy tale about why the stars exist. And then Hank chimes in and he's like, no, this is the real reason. This is the true reason. But I feel like we had to put the true reason first. And yeah, so Meryl's fictional ridiculous story, I think it'll be cool to put that in, just because you never know, there could be something really awesome to connect that to. But we also, considering the real reason behind the sun's, moon's, planets, is also something to consider too. I mean, it might be a bit premature. It doesn't really matter if we don't think of it straight away, because I imagine that all these little things we're gonna flesh out over time. We're not gonna fill them all in immediately, because some things aren't gonna spring to mind to just yet. But if anything does spring to mind, guys, just, you know, feel free to pop it in the Discord, or even send me a DM if it's something you'd prefer to be private. But if it's anything you publicly don't mind people saying, yeah, pop it in the Discord, in ideas discussion, and I'll add it to the doc, or even just add it to our brainstorming note so that we can discuss it and potentially fit it in there somewhere. And thank you for the follow as well, Overclock. Appreciate that. So maybe the that connects the stars, the 3-4 people who have shined the brightest in the life are the gods. Yeah. And thus maybe the brightest star sun is someone who lived a long time ago that did something incredible, world-saving hero of the past. Yeah, like thinking of the sun. I mean, there's the moon as well, but, you know, that's another thing altogether. It is definitely a good thing to do. And I personally think that the stars in the sky could easily be the gods in this game. I think this description here, it kind of would be weird to introduce gods that weren't this, unless there was another way of, unless it worked really well, of course, because this is just so fitting to be the kind of gods of the world. So I think so, Van. I'm going to actually copy and paste what you said, because I kind of want to make sure I read it all as well, because I've only kind of skim read it, and it's only to save myself from getting brain melt during the stream, but I want to read it properly. And to be honest, I might read it on stream during the points if chat was to slow down, but I don't want it to go off and I don't want to miss it, so I always like to put it in Notepad. Also, because I want to get some of the stuff in first before we start talking about the sun as well, because there's more to put in. So the stars, I don't know how to word this one, about them changing basically. In the past, the stars have changed, but for the last years, they have remained the same. People have speculated this is because there is nobody worthwhile left, only corruption, because only corruption exists now. And of course, guys, if like the way I'm wording this, if anyone in chat thinks actually word it like this, I won't be offended if you have a better wording for it, because I just want to make sure that it's written the best we can possibly write at the end of the day. So the sun and moon were lovers, but the moon betrayed the sun, so was cast away from the sun, cursed never to see the sun again. Yeah, and Mia's idea as well can actually, it's pretty close to Axel's story to Meryl, but it's a bit less ridiculous. You know, Axel's pretty dark and morbid. We'll get that. We'll go back to that and read it in a sec. So who knows? There could be some truth in his fairy tale. It could have just been twisted. Don't like how there's two becauses. Yeah, I think that's the main facts. I'm very keen to not miss anything out, ideally. Right, so the fairy tale. So Carol actually, there's a little story that stars in the magical flowers in the fields of heaven. They are said to be the most beautiful. We need to think about that, and that's kind of what I've just put in for now, because I wanted something that was very, like, something that a mum would say to their child, you know, something sweet and something simple, like the fairy tale version of the truth. So heaven, and we don't know if heaven's going to be the word for the afterlife in our game, in all honesty, so I would rather not confirm its name as heaven right now. I would like to consider the afterlife a little more and what it could be called, but it's an interesting concept, because heaven, God's being in heaven, in the fields of heaven. She says they're flowers, and that isn't really what they are, but who knows? So it's her little childlike version of it for Oliver anyway. Hey, I'm back. What did I miss? Aggro, how are you doing? We're kind of going on a lore kind of discussion now, Aggro. I've kind of said how I'm very keen to make the streams very discussion focused and for brainstorming and for ideas and just talk about things like this, because I believe that that's how we're going to come up with the best ideas for the story. So we're kind of talking about, this is really random, but it's honestly very relevant to a particular scene very early on in the game, about stars. I was looking through a world building link that Van and Mia sent me, and I saw it right there, the natural world, stars, sun, moons and planets, and I was like, okay, this fits with the scene we had, because the characters were actually talking about stars. So it just feels like it was a great opportunity to get all that out in the open about what the conversation is in that scene, and get it put up in a Word doc, because then it gives a point to the dialogue, and it gives a chance for it to be more than just a little cute story between a grandpa and a grandson. It's actually going to have a purpose in the world. Maybe you could just say stars are magical flowers in the afterlife until you decide. Well, this is it. This is the fairy tale bit. What Hank says much later in the conversation is the real truth, because he's the knowledgeable fella, you know. Hank is. He knows his stuff. He's the barrel that's lived the longest. He hasn't lived as long as humans because he was brought to life by a spell, but he has had some time in the world to get a grasp of how things work. And he's very honourable, trustworthy, so we believe him. He says the truth. But what Carol and Meryl say here, and she's called Barrel because at this point in the dialogue we don't know Carol's name, because it's from Carol's point of view. So Carol knows the others, but we don't know her. But Meryl calls her Carol at this point. Oh, she calls her Carol then. So from that point, we know that her name's Carol. This is pretty early on. It's very, very early on stuff in the game where we're really only getting to know Carol for the first time. Now, keep in mind if something needs more thought, don't be afraid to skip it and come back later. Yeah, so fleshing out's going to be important because, well, you know, the opposite of fleshing out, like leaving things for a while, because it's so early, it's going to be almost impossible to know and understand all this so completely. It's going to be fleshed out over the time for sure. Lore-based streams sound fun for sure. And yeah, we might have the odd technical stream now and again, because sometimes that's going to be on the agenda on my to-do list. So, of course, but I kind of want to I would like to make them more lore driven if I can, because I see the technical stuff as things I could be doing off stream, because it's not as interactive, you know, when I'm doing that. I'm not as chatty and I'm more focused, and I don't feel it's the best for the community to be doing the stuff like that on stream. So I'd rather keep this very community driven and very, very discussion focused. And I think lore streams, character development streams do that best. Even story plot streams as well. But yeah, so I want to get the fairy tales in now. But this particular one here, it still could fit with Hank's. It's just a very childlike version of Hank's tale in a way. I mean, she says flowers, and flowers are different to souls, and there's different words Carol's used, but she's trying to make it cute and simple for Oliver, who's like a very young child. So she wants to make it cute for him. But who knows, there might be some who knows, maybe that could be the truth, but I'm going to see Hank's as the real lore. Okay, but heaven's a question mark. I'm going to put question mark there just because part of me doesn't know if I want to call it heaven. Have we got an afterlife discussion somewhere here? Maybe the afterlife is somewhere here. Because at the moment, we don't have to flesh out the afterlife at all. We can keep it very open at this point, but because Carol actually mentions heaven, we might have to at least think of a name for the afterlife, of course, at some point, especially before episode 1's release. Probably under religion, yeah, somewhere here anyway. Right, so mothers have said to their children that, it's the only way I can think of how to put this at the moment, that stars are magical. I've got so many tabs, guys, that I'm trying to find them. Stars are magical flowers in the fields of heaven, question mark. Beautiful. We don't need to add that. That's just fluff. Okay, so Meryl's story is a real fairy tale. A darker is that stars are the children of the sun and moon. Well, there could be some truth to this particular part. I mean, Mia mentioned something about them being lovers. Van mentioned the sun being, you know, one of the key stars. The main god or something like that. So there could be definitely some truth in this particular bit, but what comes later is what's ridiculous. So here we go. The sun is their father and the moon is their mother. And I would love there to be some truth to this as well, because it gives some actual meaning to this story other than character development alone. They dance across the sky with the moon, but flee when the sun rises above the horizon. Hang on, we can change this. We'll put another tale is that stars, and when we put there is a dark version of this tale that stays the sun. Is a gluttonous monster who wants to eat his children. That's basically what she's saying. Is a gluttonous monster who... There is a dark version of this tale that says that the stars flee when the sun rises above the horizon, because the sun is a gluttonous monster that hungers for the light. I don't want to get all rambly here, but I want to get all the details in if I can. You should make a different name, not having got an idea, send in DM and Discord. Yeah, honestly guys, feel free to throw your ideas around for versions of Heaven, because Heaven is very uninspired. That's what it is on planet Earth. It'd be cool if we could think of a Raindrop Chronicles version, and if we get a few ideas, we can totally put up a poll. I've missed doing polls. It's been a while. So if we do get a few ideas for that, then I'll totally put a poll up next time or something. So another tale is that stars are the children of the sun and moon. The sun is their father and the moon is their mother. There is a dark version of this tale that says the sun, that says the suns flee, the stars flee when the sun rises above the horizon, because the sun is a gluttonous monster who hungers for their light. So I've kind of said it. I don't know why that's there. I've kind of said it word for word for how Meryl's tale unfolds in the scene, but I think that's the best way to do it, because it could make us all understand it better. Okay, so I'm going to bold the key points. So we've got here that there's some tales going around that the stars are the magical flowers of the fields of heaven. That's the cute one, the cute sweet story. And the other is that stars are the children of the sun and moon. And Mia said that the sun and moon were lovers, but the moon betrayed the sun, so was cast away from the sun, cursed to never see the sun again. So that's another perspective. It could fit with that tale, because there must have been lovers to have the stars as children. But this actually paints the moon as the villain. And, you know, so that's an interesting perspective too. It's like, well, which one's the truth? But Axel might have said this, it gave this version because he doesn't like his daddy. So he purposely wanted the son to kind of be the bad guy. because it was Axel that said this tale. I actually put that, actually. There is a dark version of this tale as told by Axel the oil drum. I feel like it's important to mention who has said this, because it could also inspire some ideas. There's a dark version of this tale told by Axel the oil drum that says the stars flee when the sun rises at the horizon because the sun is glutted once who hungers for their life. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? But there are other versions that say in the... I'm just getting it all out there right now, guys, because it's pretty cool. So, we could, yeah, and we could also say it in the afterlife instead of heaven. In fact, I'll change it to that for now. There are versions paint the moon in the negative life, saying betrayed the sun, cast away from the sun, and cursed to never see the sun again. So there's a ton of different versions of what all is all happening here. The story, Raindrop Chronicles dialogue, I might never see all of this. I mean, it has seen some of this, as we know, because it's in the cutscene. But whenever we do expand on this document and really put law, because we'll have pages and pages of it, but eventually, I'm sure, I don't expect all of it to be like revealed as breadcrumbs in the story, at least too soon anyway. But it's nice to have it there anyway, just to inspire ideas, you know. So let's do you plan to have a main enemy looming behind the scenes throughout the series until you decide to bring the series to a close? Or is it going to be more of an episodic series where the journeys are more contained? So what do you mean by the journey's more contained, Algro? Just so I can get the proper definition of what you mean by that. But it's episodic, of course, that's what it's going to be. And the episodic format just fits. It just helps me as a creator get something out there and released in a matter of months or years rather than a decade, if you know. I mean, it's nice to not have to think, oh, this game's not going to see the light of day until the end of the 2020s. You know, that would be quite overwhelming for me. So yeah, it's so much nicer it being episodic in that way. But as for your actual question, main enemy, we've got the antagonists, and each of those antagonists will find their place in the story, whether it's their main quest or side quests, or whether they're part of factions that are separate from the main quest. They'll be there. They'll have their place. As for main enemy, that's something we're going to just be seeing as we go on, you know. There's going to be an improvised feat. Like, I like to keep this improvised to a degree, just so us as the community have flexibility on how things do go. But at the same time, there will be things set in stone. There has to be, because everything would just end up chaotic. So it's finding that balance between keeping certain elements improvised and other bits set in stone, I guess. And we kind of figure that out as we go along, I guess, because we're so early on. It's not too, you know, it's not too much to think that ahead that yet. So don't be afraid to lift dialogue and place it as an example. Just pop it in quotes and italics. Yeah, that's a smart idea as well. Mia, we can totally do that too. So keep in mind the moon could be directly linked with the raindrops. The tide of the water is a factor in ocean currents, which in turn affect the weather of nearby land masses, bringing temperatures more in line with the currents as they move about the earth. Warm ocean currents bring warmer and rainier weather, and cold ocean currents bring colder and drier weather. That's really cool as well, and it brings in weather, because that is something as well that is so important, but so like not discussed in many stories enough. And it's great to just think of this. I'm going to copy and paste that to me, and I want to have a proper read of that at some point as well. And hi Sangi, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. How's it going? The moon affects the tides, which in turn change the weather. My mouse is being a bit of a laggy one today. Maybe it's running out of battery. Thought I'd change that recently. There is a beginning and ending for each episode. If it is more contained, the episode would feel like separate entries with their own journeys, with a proper ending instead of a journey that is just to be continued. Oh, well, it's definitely going to be continuous. I'll say that now. There'll be that main arc that is followed throughout. There won't be separate episodes that are their own game or story. So however episode 1 ends, it'll continue in episode 2. That main story will follow from the beginning to the end somehow. And maybe, like, because the arc at the moment, a basic summary of what is happening in the main plot right now, and it's still very early on because it's only main quest 2. But Carol the Barrel, she is who has latched on to our hero from the first scene. She has forced herself to be his sort of assistant, companion, whatever you want to call it. She's his inventory. Can't say that word then. So Carol the Barrel has latched on to us, and as we travel through the Everbloom Forest, we encounter Rose. She's a vampire. She was captured. She was because one of the villagers are to consider her dangerous, so they locked her in a cage. And then that villager tells us to sacrifice the vampire to the monsters in the Everbloom Forest. And Carol, at that point, when we encounter Rose, once Rose enters the story, it triggers a memory in her, because Rose was there. Rose witnessed the moment that her companions, the Barrels, got kidnapped in the cart, which you'll see when we get the cutscene put out, because that's basically what happens. They're in the cart having this interesting little banter between them about stars, and then a hijacking happens and Carol rolls out the cart accidentally in the commotion, and she is separated from her companions. The cart is gone, someone took them. And the lore video, it's all connected. The reason why they were kidnapped links to this lore video. So, it's all about Carol the Barrel finding her companions, in all honesty, to summarise it. And that's why I want to have them there, because they're pretty key to the whole plot. Whether that's I don't know whether that's going to be the whole story throughout. I'm sure at some point they'll find them, or some of them, and then the main story might take a turn to a kind of other thing, but it'll branch off that. I'm sure it'll link, and they're not gonna be all separate. They'll all merge together and link and have that. I think that'll be really cool if we can do that, rather than have them all be random separate tales. Having everything connect I think that's just super satisfying. And Mia, gotta go, but have fun. Take care, and thanks so much for all the awesome ideas. They're all there in a notepad file, and that'd be awesome. Right, folks. So where are we? I think this is really cool stuff that we've got here. So I'm gonna definitely plan to make this dock a thing. I want it to be like our thing, where we take in all the information. But let me think if there's anything else important, because I know that Van said some stuff and Mia and others as well, and it's all here. There's absolutely loads of text for me to read, and I can't read it all at once because I'll be staring at it for like 10 minutes taking it all in. But I'm definitely going to be rereading it off stream, and anything that fits and is relevant to put in, I'll pop in. Or even if I'm like, don't know if it's got a place, we'll save it for discussion in another stream. But I want to not just consider this scene, I want to consider every single scene that we've had so far, in all honesty, because there might be other little breadcrumbs that are lore related that we could expand on. And I don't know if there's anything left here. I'm going to just give it another look. Yeah, it's all banter in this middle section. It's like it starts with the stars lore and the sun and the moon lore, and then it turns into banter. We get a bit of character insight there, what their personalities are like, and the relationships with each other. But then it goes back to the stars story again, because Oliver interrupts them and brings up the stars again. And that's when Hank chimes in and explains things properly. And I think that's it. That is honestly it. So what we do have in our doc here, can we zoom out a little bit so we can see it as a whole? What we've got written here basically is it, unless there's any extra information we can fit. And I feel like the stuff that we've got in the story, maybe we should put that in another colour, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not 100% sure. Rightio, so there's more dialogue. So that's just one scene. Let's scroll up and have a look at the other dialogues. And I don't know if there's any in this one. One sec, guys, I forgot to check something before stream today. Oh no, apparently I need another Windows update. I never like it when Windows has to update, because it always kind of resets my settings. All is good. All is good. Okay. So looking at this particular scene, we don't have any lore in this one. This scene, the purpose of this scene is simply to show us, the player, that Carol recognises Rose and establish the connection between those two characters. And then from that point on, when we've established the connection of them, we get a choice with the hero to just give a potential romance point with Carol and some bravery and compassion points if you pick the others. But after that, it literally just leads to Carol opening up and telling her flashback, which is this here. And this is the post-flashback scene. Yeah, that's a very, very short scene of Carol just venting. And there's no lore in that particular bit. And this is even before that. This is Main Quest 1 stuff now. This is when they see Rose for the first time, see her in the cage, and see that she's being held captive. So... Okay, so the only possible lore little things we have from this is vampires. Feral vampires in particular, like Rose, but that's something to talk about at another time because there's so much to still discuss with that. And it's not entirely relevant to what we're doing so far either. But something in particular is the monsters of the Everbloom Forest, but that's a scene we're going to get to shortly. Just want to look through these in a sec. And this is all just Carol introduction here. This is simple Carol introduction. First 2 scenes of the game that haven't put Nigel Bucketon's dialogue in, but he's basically the main quest 1 quest giver. And all he says is he needs to find his little sister, and that leads to literally finding that little sister, who is the person who's got Rose captive. So it all connects together. Right, so the next important scene is the fruit bosses. Let's open that up. So I've checked all that, and that all seems fine. We've covered the main bits, which is the stars. That was such a important lore bit, had to be mentioned. Christmas travellers from different places always like to share their favourite traditions. Hi again, Rose. Got back safe. How is everything? Welcome back, Nash. It's good to have you here. And honestly, I'm glad you mentioned the Christmas thing again, because I think this is where this will come in, this scene here. There's definitely going to be some lore bits in this particular scene, I'd say. And I want to talk about festivals in this world at some point too. Even if we don't think of them all immediately and there's still lots of gaps, it's fine. It's still fun to think. So this is just before the first boss, this particular scene is. So the fruits, they are the monsters of the Everbloom Forest that Fiona Buckington demanded that Rose be sacrificed to. I've even done a little scene thing here, so just to remind ourselves, this is the scene where Carol finds a way to communicate with Rose, because Rose was a witness when the Barrels got kidnapped. Rose was the only person who could tell Carol, and unfortunately Rose can't speak. She's very feral, only like hisses and speaks like an animal basically, so there is absolutely no way to communicate with Rose, and it frustrates Carol. So luckily for Carol, there's an easel there, a painter's easel, so she orders Rose to paint, and that to Carol is the perfect way to find out where her family are, through a painting, a picture. I will find out what that painting is once the boss has been killed. So the group finds an easel. Carol demands that Rose paints a picture of who took her son, but they're interrupted by a hostile group of fruits. The fruits are actually painters themselves. If you saw some of the test plays in the last stream, you'll see that they were holding paintbrushes. That's kind of what they fight with. What portraits are used in conversation? Is it the same as the ones used in battle? The portraits are the avatars. So you see... Right, let's click on Carol the Barrel as an example. So this in the frame is what is used in conversation. You'll see that image of Carol all the time, but her expressions will change because I like to have a variety of expressions for the characters. So usually what I do is I get that main face, that avatar, and just, manipulate some of the features, flip the mouth, flip the eyebrows. It can definitely make them look a bit more angry or sad. But that can also be done in the RPG Maker generator too, because there's different eyebrows and different mouth positions to show different expressions. But for the barrels in particular, obviously they're original characters, so I have to like just flip the eyebrows or something and just edit them myself till they look okay, and it's worked so far. We have a few expressions for each of them. That's an interesting image. She's very feral, except when she's holding a brush in her hands. Yeah, she has a secret talent where she paints. Right, so you never know, painting could be a theme for Rosie's character throughout, and a way she could communicate with people. But it's interesting to consider communicating with a character that can't speak. I mean, drawing and painting pictures is one way, but there's definitely other methods. But for Carol the Barrel is someone who's so, she doesn't really think with her head. She's a very, like, aggressive person. And she just saw the painting and was like, that's the answer to all my problems. She doesn't use her head. Someone who's more intellectual might think of another way, a more effective way to communicate with Rose, like nodding or anything like that. Wait, I missed it. My stream lags at the portrait. It's what you see in that frame at the top. That avatar is what is shown in dialogue boxes, but there's like other versions, like different expressions as well. I don't know if I've shown you before, Aggro, but I'll get them up anyway. Faces, that's it. Now this is Woody. I've just clicked Woody because it's the first one. So as you can see, that's Woody's default that we've used on his character sheet, but he also has these expressions too, which I simply just created by flipping his mouth the other way around and his eyebrows. And it's definitely given a range of expressions there. So depending on what he's said, if he said something where he's annoyed, I'll like change it to that one or that one. It all depends on what the dialogue is that they're saying. Because it's better doing it like that rather than just having the same boring face or expression there the whole time. It just creates a bit more personality. Nice. So yeah, if the artist that you've got wants to do that for your character, that's cool too. Right, so right, so where were we? Let's remind ourselves. Yeah, we were looking into this scene again, and we were looking at this card. So yeah, they're interrupted by the fruits. How dare they? Just as things were getting exciting and everything was going Carol's way, those fruits interrupt. So it leads. So before this scene, Carol didn't care about Rose. She would have been glad to have seen her sacrificed to the monsters of the Everbloom Forest. But this makes, Carol need Rose. She's, so now she cares, even if it's for her own selfish reasons. Carol realised she needs her, even though it's for her own selfish reasons. It's still a step up from not caring at all about what happens to Rose. Let's zoom in so you guys can see this better. And Carol starts becoming a little nicer to Rose, but not much. So that's the purpose of that scene. It's literally Carol and Rose character development with the first boss thrown in. And there are a bunch of entertaining first bosses as well, so it's well worth it. But the point is, it goes deeper than just meeting these fruit characters. And here they are: tomato, lemon, blueberry, and plum, and apple. They're the first boss of the game, and they're a fun first boss, very charming bunch of fruits, very quirky. But it's more than just that. The fruits really are not the reason for this scene. It's all about Carol and Rose, in all honesty, because the fruits are just minor characters. But there's this kind of subplot subplot going on here as well with Fiona Buckington, who is the NPC that gave us this quest. It's like, why did she want Rose sacrificed to the monsters? How did she even know about the monsters, aka the fruits, in the first place? Is she involved in some bad stuff? Because these fruits aren't good guys, you know. They have some nefarious plans, and that's why we got to fight them in the first place. So this particular NPC, this Fiona girl, she might not be the innocent NPC quest giver that we think she is, and I think it'd be pretty cool if we did do that with her character, because I love making minor NPCs and quest givers more than just basic, you know. I like to actually give them a story, and even if it's minor and even if it doesn't have a like main impact on the overall main plot, it's still cool that there's more layers happening with some of these quest givers. Happy Friday, how you doing, Zayas? It's good to see you. Zayas, I hope you're having a good Friday. Hope you got a good weekend, ready for the weekend ahead. Oh yeah, she literally says, take it, Rose, to the forest so it can die. Or Varaba, yeah, take Rose to the forest, and the fruits, all the monsters, the only thing that can really kill her, maybe, yeah. And Carol at first, she's just like, screw you, Rose, you're useless flesh bag. You know, you can't tell me where my family are because you don't even speak, useless flashback. And she's just happy to see Rose die, but everything changes in this scene because she realises Rose actually might have a purpose for her, for that painting. So she's like, no, she can't die. She can't die now. And this is what's happening here. So she starts painting for Carol. She starts painting this picture for Carol, and the fruits interrupt. And there's a bit of banter that happens. Tomato's the aggressive, edgy one. He's like the teen. And he has a bit of an argument with Carol. Lemon interrupts. He's the stoic old grandpa guy. Blueberry like follows Lemon. Lemon and Blueberry parallel Oliver and Hank, in all honesty. There's similarities between the two because there just is, and I love that. So Plum is the wise old guy, and we gotta do character sheets for these two folks. So this was a plan. I've actually got it on the Trello. Profiles for non-community member characters, the fruits, because we got them for the barrels, the containers, but we haven't got them for the fruits yet, and it'll be really good to do that. And we are working on their boss battle very shortly. Maybe not next week because I want to work on skill tree stuff, but maybe the week after. I'll see how things go. It's definitely going to be sometime soon now because I want to get it done so that we can move on to the next thing. Hi Rex, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Also, the artist may want to be credited in the credits if that's okay. Oh, of course, like when it comes to the credits in the game, there's going to be a big list of credits, folks. Mixture of you guys, the community, mixture of folks that we have the resources from the RPD Make forums, and of course, so you know, it's definitely, put it this way, when episode 1 concludes, the credits is gonna probably be, you know, pretty lengthy. Okay, so let's remind ourselves what's happening now. So apple, so we just introduced each of the fruits one at a time here at this point. Then the hero has an opportunity to be really heartless with Rose or really compassionate. Well, sort of compassionate. He's like, no, you're not having Rose. I'm not sacrificing her to you. Or he's like, nah, you're getting Rose. So you gain or lose a compassion, but you also get a Carol romance point here because you're also doing Carol a favour by you know, protecting Rose because Carol needs her for the painting, and Rose is happy. at this point, because she's like, oh, Carol loves me now. But Carol's like, no, you dork. And I think we said dork was the best word, didn't we? We came up with a lot of words, and we said that different characters would use different insults. Something like ninny is such a great insult word, but not something Carol would use, because it's too cute and for Carol. She'd use heartless, very cutting insults. So she's like, only so you can pick that pitch for me, stop smiling like a dork. And then Rose suddenly has a disappointed face because she realised she's just being used. So, and then at that point, honestly, this scene I'm still in the process of finishing, because I'm trying to balance it between the barrel scene flashback. I'm trying to finish that one and this one at the same time. So it is in our Trello page where's Trello? It's in our Trello to get them done. When it's got here, do the dialogue and scene for main quest, the sacrifice. Those are the two scenes I actually mean. That one with the fruits I've just shown, and the one with the barrels earlier on. But there's not as much lore here as I thought. Oh, here it is. This was the Christmas one. I was thinking, where's that? So stop smiling like a Christmas. Yeah, a child. Yeah, basically there was a Christmas reference here, and we didn't use that one in the end because we didn't have the name for Christmas yet. So we decided to just use a simple insult like duck, which is totally fine and very fitting for Carol's character to use something like that anyway. I do love these, but I could see them being used by the more cultured characters, should I say. I don't know if Carol's the most cultured. She's just full on aggro, which is funny because we have an aggro in chat. But yes, I'm doing well. One sec, BRB. Enjoy BRB, Rex. So yeah, there's actually not much lore. It's really just fruit introduction and Carol and Rose development here. I think if there was lore, I probably would have put it here. But this bit, the confession of the plans, which I'm still honestly in the process of getting that dialogue perfect, because it was very... There's an opportunity to make this scene really gripping, and I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. But let me look at because the timeline and plot bit will probably be the best part to look at for this, actually, because it summarises the plan of the fruits. Here we go. So yeah, I covered that bit. They were interrupted by the fruits. The fruits introduce themselves, have a go at the group for vandalising their property. They thank the hero for bringing them Rose, their most important component of their masterpiece. And I need to refresh myself on this because it's been a week or two. Okay, so there is definitely lore here, but I'd rather revisit this lore when we return to this scene, because at the moment we're kind of working on more on the actual battle stuff rather than this bit. But it isn't like in the middle of being done, so there's not anything I can 100% confirm yet, because I'm doing a lot of rewording with this particular scene, and I've got to prioritise that. Actually, it's kind of trying with me. It's trying to think: should I do battle system stuff right now, the skill tree stuff, or should I do the scenes? Because there's a lot of little different things to do. But yes, guys, I think that will definitely be something in the lore that gets put in. But just to remind you all, or just to let you guys know what we've been up to today, we are making a lore document. And it'll slowly get built up over time. We found some really cool resources on Worldbuilding here. We got natural world, locations, travel, architecture, medicine, profession, economy, history, clothing, food, entertainment, law, politics, magic, technology, religion, family, education, language, everything, weather. And there's another one here. Where's the other one? Don't think that was the one. Oh, here it was. Questionnaire on the world, climate, plants, races, everything, geography, time, history, culture, gods, everything, absolutely everything. So that is like Worldbuilding heaven right there, guys. And hi guys, Sickle, how you doing? It's good to see you. Hope you're having a good day. But yeah, so obviously we're gonna, the plan will be to long term get a really thorough law document filled in here, but we're going to be doing it bit by bits, slowly, piece by piece. What's relevant to the story right now will be going in here, which is why I've filled in this, because there was a flashback scene with the barrels and the container characters that are very, very focused on this particular law. So we had to do that, and we've come up with some. Earlier on the stream, there's some really cool ideas from this, and I'm really happy we actually changed what we was doing today to talk about this, because today's stream was mainly going to be about the battle system and the weapons again, what we was doing last time. But I've been saying how sometimes I kind of want to have lore streams because they're really valuable. Just having the conversation, getting all ideas out. And there's some ideas that got mentioned today that, you know, the thought of not having them ideas mentioned is like, whoa, because they're going to make such a difference if, you know. So it's very valuable having these lore discussion streams. If you keep finding great places to put real world holidays references, this might work. All the vessels have knowledge of worlds no one have ever seen, and the containers themselves don't really remember. Let me read that again just to take because so all the vessels have knowledge of worlds no one have ever seen, and all the containers themselves don't really remember. Yeah, so for sure, I'm gonna copy and paste that national so I can read it properly as well off stream. Add it to our collection of little lore things that were brought up today. So holidays and references, yeah, that is definitely something I'm going to focus on as well. There's honestly so much, and looking at it all as a whole is pretty like, whoa. But if we can pick out what we think could be really cool to focus on, then yeah, we'll add it to the doc for sure. But yeah, the containers, like, as we know, they're very young. They were brought to life from a spell. They haven't lived on the planet that long because of that. The timeline, I mean, the lore video itself says all the timeline, but we've got it written up here as well. Yeah, it's literally just a year. Elvira and Hank have lived for a year. Carol, Meryl and Woody have lived for 6 months. And Oliver is 3 months old. So because of how young they are, you wouldn't expect them to know much of the world. Hank does, because he seeks knowledge, Hank does. But people like the others would probably be very naive. And, you know, I couldn't see Carol being super cultured or coming up with the most cultured sentences like some people might. Loving this lore stream? Ah, thank you, Ben. I love these streams. That's a good pun. That's a good pun. I like it. But yeah, guys, if there's anything at all that you think I've missed, feel free to say in chat in particular. I've made note of anything anyone has said, and I'm gonna read that and get super focus later, because there's a lot of good info there. But in all honesty, the star stuff was key. That was the key one that I wanted to talk about today, because it's just such an important conversation, and I didn't want it to go missed and to just be forgotten about after this scene. And the fact that that law might actually have a purpose now and a context makes it just so much more rewarding. But this will need to be made public or something at some point. I'm not sure how I'm going to organise this yet, like in terms of, I mean, I'm sure there's a link somewhere that I can do. I just want to make sure it's easily accessible. I want people to know about this law document. I don't want it to be something that people don't even realise exists, because that defeats the purpose of all this. And I mean, obviously the easiest source of information is our website, but because our website is such a dynamic visual thing, a document like this just wouldn't visually go with it. So it feels like it needs to be separate. But I just want to make sure people know that this exists, you know. Okay, folks, so I don't know if there's anything else we can talk about much today in particular. Nothing's coming to my mind about law that we could talk about other than the raindrop stuff, but that stuff is pretty much something we're gonna flesh out over time as well. But I'm just glad that we did this, because a lot of you guys didn't know about this bit today. And anyone that's just popped in the stream who's like, well, what is this? I suppose you can read it here, but I will need to put it up publicly somewhere so everyone can have a proper look. Did the idea that Rose cannot be killed by people work for the fruit scene? Rose cannot be killed by people. Let me refresh myself. Did we say, was that a thing? Well, I can't remember if that was a thing. I don't know if I remember that. I mean, maybe I made a note of it somewhere, but I'm gonna have to refresh myself, because in all honesty, I have neglected the fruit scene because I moved on to all the battle stuff, and that has kind of been a distraction. It's always a challenge to balance what area of the game development we're going to work on. But I do need to refresh myself on it, because it's completely slipped my mind all the stuff we was doing. But yeah, all I remember was the fruits are going to kill Rose, and we don't know the methods for killing her. Like that wasn't fleshed out. All we knew is that they intend to have her because she's an important component of their recipe for their masterpiece. I suppose though, yeah. It was a little in chat. I asked maybe if the fruit or monster of the forest are able to kill Rose where the innkeeper could not. Let me look. Maybe I missed that one. Sometimes I do. I try not to if I can help it, but sometimes things might go missed. So honestly, guys, if I ever do miss stuff, because it can happen sometimes, we've got the general ideas discussion. If there is like something super vital that you think is like a really cool thing we could do, popping it in here, definitely I won't miss it then for sure. So okay, where were we? So let me look up. The fruits or the monsters are the only things that can really kill her. So are you kind of suggesting that she be immortal? Because, I mean, there could be plot holes with that, simply because if she's a playable character in battle, she will die anyway if some random thing kills or whatever it is. But vampire lore is very undecided right now anyway, so it's very hard to set in stone any particular like immortality or anything that they have or anything. I haven't even thought of that, but it's a cool idea. It's a cool thought. Rose is feral and I imagine her being bottom of that like the hierarchy of vampires. Like, she's just the lowest of the lowest when it comes to vampires. The person who cast that spell on her really didn't like her much to do that to her, to make her not be able to even talk. So I don't know whether she should be like OP. Oh no, I kind of like that she's a vulnerable character in a way. And we know it's cool to consider these things, but I just want to make sure we consider any potential plot holes as well with any cool character sort of traits or ideas that we might have. She can fall but not die. Yeah. And she can never die. Spells aren't cheap. Vampires probably aren't that common. So, because this is all a new thing for me, I haven't even considered for a second that Rose might be immortal. So this is a whole new concept here. It's an interesting one for sure. And it's not something I'm going to be like nah about, because I want to explore it. I want to explore all the vampire lore at some point and properly flesh it out. I'm just kind of not doing that because there hasn't been a relevance to the story to do that yet. So it would feel like we were not on track, or, you know, going off track, should I say, if we did that right now. But because the scene with the fruits is very, very relevant to Rose's, you know, life, you know, it feels relevant at this point to talk about. Maybe she's the only vampire. Yeah, this is where we have a thing, because there's a character that got submitted yesterday, and it's a vampire. So Rose isn't the only vampire. I'll just say that now. We've had a vampire introduced to the cast. It's actually, here we are, Triakis's character. And Triakis is said in chat a few times how he really wants to be a vampire, so it didn't surprise me. I'm going to just summarise though that he's a very different kind of vampire to Rose. This guy is a charming vampire. This guy has finesse. He's what you'd call higher up on the hierarchy of vampires, you know. He's not the bottom, the pits, the scum of vampires like Rose. I've only skim read the character sheet, so I don't know all the backstory yet on him. I think it might be a good idea to do that if we're going to talk about vampires though. But yes, I just want to let you guys know that we do have another vampire in the story. And the character sheets haven't been done yet because they're on the to-do list. That's something here. You know, I can't do everything at once, so it's gonna have to wait for now. I want to wait for the deadline to close first, the June the 8th deadline for the raindrops, because then I can do everyone's together then. Yeah, and they're definitely not that common for sure. I imagine that, I mean, it's hard. When I say they might not be that common, I feel like I'm making assumptions there because I don't want to 100% confirm that fact. We don't even really know the reason why Rose was turned into a vampire in the first place. That is still very much a big question mark. Like, why did this person that cast the spell on Rose even do it? What was the motive? There's just so many possibilities there. All we know is that someone turned a very ordinary farm girl into a vampire that was very feral. Not a good vampire. Very feral. Very, you wouldn't want to be that vampire, let's just say that. And I know that there's all immortality that's being brought as a concept, which to me is something very powerful and very special. So that would make Rose suddenly a different character, someone who had powers and was, like, you know, not the vulnerable character she is anymore. So it just changes everything, and it's up for consideration. And if that was the case, if Rose was immortal, that would mean the spellcaster might have wanted to do Rose a favour and isn't actually an antagonist to Rose. So there's just there's other things that come into the equation when considering those things. So it's about thinking of all all the outcomes and what's going to work best and what fits the most and what would be the most interesting way to take the story. Anyway, let's catch up with chat. Was that a humble bundle, Asriel? Was it? Can we have some hype in chat, please, everyone? I appreciate that as well. What was it that you bought? What was that you bought, Asriel? Rose cannot die of old age. She's a bazillion years old. I think she's a victim of someone's spell. She might have been an unlucky street rat. Yeah. See, yes. It could have been a random attack on Rose, just she happened to be there, wrong place, wrong time thing. Maybe she was targeted, but maybe it was a random attack. These things I like to keep open, simply because we don't know what the best decision to make is yet. That's something we decide together. Someone might come up with some really cool idea that we're like, oh yeah, when we're going to make it this instead. I do like your thought that she doesn't have to be the OP sort. The simple idea is the innkeeper doesn't want to bloody her own hands after doing the work of capturing Rose. Yeah, so I do love the idea of making that innkeeper girl, Fiona, more fleshed out for sure, which is why ultimately, let's get this up, because I'd rather show this on the Trello page, to be honest, so people can get a... I wish I could show more, in all honesty. It's a pity that I can't show that all the boxes in one go. But yeah, so it's a subplot about Fiona. Could she be up to no good and involved with the fruits and their plan? Because the only thing we really know about Fiona, other than she's an innkeeper, she's the innkeeper of Lakefall, and she's given us the task to sacrifice Rose. That's all we know about her. And that she captured Rose as well. So... But there's questions there, because why? What's her motive? There's just so much stuff we could ask ourselves with this girl. It's thinking about Fiona and all the reasons why she could have possibly done it. Could she have done it for the safety of the villagers of Lakefall? She fears that the vampire's going to kill them all and suck all their blood. And she's like, can't have this vampire here because I care too much about my townspeople. Is she really doing it from that perspective, like the good guy? Or is she literally... Is she actually in league with the fruits, who are antagonists of Lakefall, and she actually wanted to sacrifice Rose for the same reason the fruits want to have her, which is like a plan that's really dark and twisted that the Lakefall residents certainly wouldn't agree with. But Fiona might not at all be involved in that. Maybe she's just unaware of the fruits plan. There's all these possibilities. Well, it's possible that Rose's vampirism is from a spell, and poorly made spell. That's why she's feral and such. Could be that someone was trying to create a controllable vampire. Yeah, there's all these things to consider for sure. All I know is that when I was creating Rose, I wanted it to be a vampire because I'm a vampire, but I didn't want it to be an OP vampire. That's why I didn't make her some charismatic, charming, badass lady vampire. That I could have easily took her in that direction as a character, one that had the gift of the gab and could charm everybody in sight sort of vampire, and had all these powerful magics and spells and abilities. But I decided to go the opposite direction with Rose. I wanted to make her like seriously sympathetic and somebody who really isn't OP at all. And that doesn't mean that I don't want her to have anything special about her. Of course, it's nice if there is some advantage for Rose for being this way. That would be a lovely little happy twist for Rose if she was, and she does deserve that. Of course, you don't deserve misery at all. I wouldn't want it to be misery, but I definitely wanted to subvert the vampire expectations a little with Rose. And I've got an idea, if Rose and the new vampire meet, the new vampire might want to find Rose's creator and kill him. Yes, we're going to have a proper look at that character sheet if we want to expand on this vampire stuff a little more, because there could be information in that would, you know, be really helpful. Something like that would put a bad name on the real vampires. A bundle game, music, oh awesome. I hope it's comes in good use, Azriel. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you using my link, Azriel. She doesn't even have to be evil, though she's coming across as cold and cruel. Any other vampire would be severe trouble for a small town. Oh, it's her basket. The fruit basket is Fiona's. See, this is all very interesting, guys. So when it comes to Fiona Buckington and any other NPC that we have in the game, I am the sort of person that likes to consider every possible scenario with them. Like, I would seriously make a list of all the potential motives they could have, and then together we could decide what's the coolest one. Or maybe we could even say we like a few of the ideas and keep it a mystery which one it really is going to be. Because I find it hard to set things in stone immediately, because I always think, but what if that idea was going to be super cool as well. But yeah, it's interesting for sure, because why are the fruits even in a basket? She describes them as the monsters of the Everbloom Forest, as if she knows them, as if there's some knowledge there, there's some history with Fiona and these fruits. Because how would she even know? How would she even know they existed? You know, these fruits would be, you know, being all mysterious and under the radar, wouldn't they, if they're these antagonists that are waiting to conquer Lakefall with what they're trying to do. Because there's a lot more involved, but to put it simply, the fruits just want to conquer Lakefall. They're pretty evil. The apple isn't, though. The apple's the good guy. He tries to keep them all in line and be like, no guys, this isn't good, you know, we should do something better with our plan instead of taking that route. But the other fruits are like, no, we're getting them all, because there's a reason why the fruits don't like the humans of Lakefall, and it's simply because they're fruits and they've been eaten up. Their mothers, their uncles all got ate by Lakefall humans. So now they want revenge because they feel like they were mistreated. So yes, the fruits are bad. The fruits are bad and want to kill the people in Lakefall, and that's why they're the first boss in the game, because we have to stop them. That's not acceptable. We can't have that. The NPCs of Lakefall might not be the nicest of humans. They might be a bit racist, for example. Who knows? They might, you know, not be the most likeable. We don't know them yet. We need to flesh them out. But all we do know is that killing is not acceptable, no matter what. So we have to consider Fiona here. What does she know? Does she actually know that the fruits are planning to do this, or is she completely unawares? And the fact is, she knows that they exist, because she sent us there to sacrifice Rose to them. So she knows. We can't hide from that fact. And anyway, let's reread chat. And I do like the idea of Fiona not being evil as well. That's an interesting thing to consider. What National says, maybe there's some grey areas there. Maybe she is up to some not so good, but there's still good in her too. Maybe there's a combo of things. But us as the hero had the option to really get Fiona on our bad side quite early on, guys. I want to make that point, because some of you who weren't here in the very early streams might not realise that you as the hero get the option to push Fiona into a lake as a choice. You get to push her into lake, and she gets very, if you do that, you lose compassion points. And she also really hates you. She gets mad. I'd like it if she always holds that grudge against you if you did do that, and she kind of treats you differently compared to if you didn't push her in the lake. So she kind of has been set up as a little bit of an antagonist just from that option if you take it. But she could be a bit of a complicated one. And then there's a brother, Nigel, we haven't talked about at all yet. Nigel is timid and the opposite of his sister. He's the older brother, but he's not like Fiona. Fiona's sassy and brave for such a young girl, and very capable because she runs the inner self. And her brother's this timid, nervous guy that's like, find my sister, I can't do this on my own. Or he tries to cover it up, pretend he's like the overprotective brother who's like, find my sister for me. Please find her. She's in the forest and I don't know where she is. And when we finally find her, we were like, that she's fine. She's certainly capable. So what's your problem? But he's probably just very not capable, and he's trying to pretend he's overprotected, but really he just wants his sister back so he can like not do his job as the innkeeper or innkeeper assistant. There's a lot of room for development with those two, and even though they're minor NPCs, I still want to at least have a bit of story there with them, you know. It's cool. And let's catch up with chat, because they're organised. Oh, organised how? And or her brother's basket, that'd be unusual. Yeah, the boy has the basket. I like it. Because Nigel, we have to consider Nigel. No, I mentioned him before I read that as well, because he what if he was like the underdog in this whole thing? Imagine if we think it's Fiona. We're like, oh, Fiona's the one in league with these fruits. And really it's Nigel. And nobody would have suspected Nigel because he's this really timid, nervy guy, like, oh, please find my sister for me. And no one would even think for a minute that he was the one up to no good. You know, just throwing it all out, guys, throwing out all the possibilities. And they're bullying him some mountain to fix his situation, his sister. Yeah, and that's to do. It might not even be that Nigel's secretly bad, because that would be a bit shocking, a bit extreme. But it might be that he's getting peer pressured by the fruits, and Fiona's trying to fix her brother's mess for him. That's cool too. And how old are the fruits? Are they recent? As far as life as talking fruits? Well, let's go back to the timeline for a sec. So we do know that the barrels are between 3 months to a year old. The oldest barrels are 12 months old. Then the middle barrels are 6 months old, and Oliver is 3 months old. And you might have noticed that we have a gap here. And the reason why there's a gap is because there's a missing generation. Carol's parents. So it's great parents, grandparents, sorry. Carol's parents that we know nothing about, but they must have existed. We just don't have the characters, or we don't know them. So there's a missing generation here. But so it's every 3 months the generations are. And I'd say it's the same for the fruits, to answer that question, Van. I'd say, let's think lemon and blueberry. Lemon's the old one and blueberry's the baby. And then you've got tomato, who's the teenager. And we've got, who else have we got? I forgot them now. Plum, who is like sort of middle-aged maybe. Middle or adult, middle-aged. Have we missed anyone? Apple. Apple's probably quite youthful too, because I do remember the lemon mentions in the dialogue, or is it Plum, that Apple is like a sort of naive, youthful person and idealistic. But Apple wouldn't be as young as blueberry or tomato. So I'd say blueberry. Blueberry might be Oliver's age. Lemon would be Elvira and Hank's age. And Plum and Apple. Well, You know, this is interesting now because Blueberry could have just been recently born, and maybe it's Tomato that's Oliver's age, because we don't know how old Oliver is as a child. He could be a teen or he could be an older child, but it would probably follow a similar pattern to just, in my imagination, the ages of the fruits would sort of mirror the ages of the containers as well, because we've got different age groups among the fruits. We know Lemon's the old guy, and we know Blueberry's the little baby of the group. And hi Troy, how you doing? It's good to see you. Thank you for the character submission, by the way. And maybe let me read the rest anyway, because I was rambling before even reading the rest of what you said. So maybe if they are recent, they were old spoiling fruits that Fiona was casting out of her basket, and they came to life while she was doing it. I've got the coughing fit. Don't know what happened then. Don't know what happened then at all. That was very random. But this is all very cool. I'm going to take this in. I'm going to take all this in, Van. She's been trying to appease them for years, and the fruits tell her that she will forgive her and town. Sorry, folks. If she gives them something very special for their painting, and then she gets hold of Rose. I like it. I really like that there's more depth to the relationship between Fiona and the fruits, or Nigel and the fruits, rather than just have it there for the sake of it and have absolutely no story whatsoever. I like having a story there with them. It just gives them a bit more depth, you know, and I don't know what the game dialogue is going to reveal about the relationship between Fiona, her brother, and those fruits. It might only plant the breadcrumbs, you know. Maybe it'll all get revealed, but maybe breadcrumbs will, and the audience would have to put the pieces together themselves with the rest, but we don't know yet how we'll approach it. I guess we'll see, but I really like these ideas. I like the fact that the fruit basket belonging to either Fiona or Nigel is a thing, because it just gives a purpose for why they were even in a fruit basket. Something as well that's very interesting I do want to mention, and it might link into what you've said, Fan. I'm going to copy and paste. I am going to have to copy and paste all of this. There's a lot to copy and paste. But something interesting that I want to mention that is very subtle, that nobody probably would know unless she was in the streams at the time, is that we made a farm. We made a farm several weeks ago. Let's get RPG Maker up, and I want you guys to see something. There's blueberries and there's tomatoes in this farm. Now this farm is probably the next region to Everbloom Forest, and we know it's a travelling route because the cart's here, and you know it's a travelling route to and from the farm and Everbloom Forest. So the idea of them being born here, Tomato and Blueberry, isn't out the question. I put those there purposely, and I think chat kind of came up with the idea to put them there purposely, to kind of put that thought there in the player's head when they see these blueberries and tomatoes. Now, Blueberry and Tomato are the youngest, so, you know, it would make sense if they was born near the same time and then were put on a cart together. They were put on a cart together and then were taken to the Everbloom Forest and somehow ended up in Fiona Bookington's fruit basket, or Nigel Bookington's fruit basket. And another thing I want to mention as well, because obviously we've got to think of the origins of lemon, apple and plum, is that Everbloom Forest, I was thinking of turning some of these into fruit trees and putting, you know, showing the fact that lemon and lemon and who's the other one again? I forgot. Lemon and apple were born here, because lemons and apples can only come from trees, can't they? They're not from the farms like tomatoes and blueberries would be, you know, because they're only grown on trees, lemons and apples. So there's no trees here. There's small shrubs and stuff, but there's no large trees. It's mostly flat land, so they wouldn't have been born in the farms, apple and lemon. So they would have been born in Everbloom Forest, because it's a forest. I'm sure there's fruit trees there, so it wouldn't hurt for me to do some fruit tree assets to kind of confirm that if we decided to go that route. We don't know about Plum though. He's a mystery, but because his character's mysterious, it might be cool to keep a mystery, and his origins a mystery too. But I just wanted you guys to know that as well, because I thought it was quite interesting, because it could potentially be the origins of those guys. But no matter what, if this is the case, I think it's pretty easy to come up with a story of why they ended up in Fiona Buckington's basket. And old spoiling fruits as well. Wow. Lemon's definitely a spoiled fruity, bitter and old for sure. But yeah, like even if there was old spoiling fruits, the young ones could have been, and that still, it doesn't matter what their age is either. Blah. I'm not coming across well. I'm trying to say that, but you know what I mean. I hope you do well. Who knows? And anyway, let's read the rest. Anyway, let's catch up with what chat is saying. So, by the way, about your message earlier, yes, I did mean Julius with 2 L's, unless we're going down the American spelling. But like you says, it was a drop-down menu. Oh, we're going to be keeping British spelling for sure in this game, just for consistency. I know it's going to be a mishmash, because some people are out across the pond here and others are from Europe. But we will have to be consistent, because it'll be confusing if some spellings are English and some are American. And I've decided we'll stick to British, being as I'm British. So yeah, but yeah, that's fine. Try. I thought it was Julius, because I remember you saying, and I think that's perfect for your character. In all honesty, I'm very glad that we're going down that route. 2 L's it is there. Music always gets me. What's playing at the moment? And let me see what National says. If the brother is giving travellers to the fruits to get juiced, and the fruits are not satisfied with the results that they're getting with normal blood, then Rose would be the next hope to get good results. Yes. So I really like this, guys. You'll come up with some really cool things. I will have to reread it on stream, off stream now, to get all the info in. If you do want to expand on what you've said at all, the Discord's always available, guys, because I think this stuff is very, very fascinating, what has been talked about the fruits and Fiona. I think there's a lot of room for an interesting, layered mini plot there, with those particular NPCs, because the fact is we will be going back to Lakefall after this boss battle. We'll be going back and we'll be handing in the quest to Fiona. She's going to we have to hand that quest back in after all, and she's going to be like, so what happened? And I was thinking of giving the option of hiding Rose as well, because Fiona won't be very happy to see Rose with us in the party. I mean, we could do that. I might give the choice. We'll see what the best way to do it is, but it could be entertaining if there was one route where we had Rose blatantly with us, just to rub it in Fiona's face on more that we didn't do it, that we didn't sacrifice Rose. Or if we wanted to be a little bit more careful and cautious, we might have the option where we're like, okay, Rose has to go in hiding. We can't have Rose with us when we go back to Lakefall to hand in the quest to Fiona. And if we do that, the Fiona's dialogue will obviously be completely different, because she would think Rose is dead, and she'll think, yeah, the plan's done. Where Rose would go in hiding, I don't know. Maybe a Lakefall NPC's house, or somewhere else. Maybe we could give you guys options. maybe there could be options for Wowie Hydros, but that's just something to consider, because at the end of the day, that's a fact. Fiona would not be happy to see Rose in the party. It was the Final Fantasy themed prologue at the time I posted that. We do have some good tracks in that playlist, some beautiful ones. Duelist Angle in my character background. Yeah, I love them. I like them, and I look forward to doing their character sheet. I'm going to wait for the June deadline to close, the June the 8th deadline, so everybody can get their sheets in. I do imagine that the amount of character submissions that happen after June the 8th will greatly slow down because of the raised raindrop requirement. So that's kind of why I like to do them all at once that's happened. Hide Rose in Carol. Oh my goodness me. That is one way to do it as well. How did I not consider that? And that would be interesting too, because Carol does not like people inside her. She went nuts when the hero was inside her. Where was that dialogue again? It's the very first dialogue of the game. And I don't know if I got rid of it or not. Here it is. She went absolutely nuts. She was like, hero rising Lightfall and pokes head out of barrel they hid in. So the hero's actually inside Carol at this moment, and she's like, get out, so gross. Nobody's ever been inside me before. I feel so violated. Get out of my sight. She's like, she feels like she's been, well, you know, it is a little bit, someone in, it's a bit lewd, but that's the point. And, but then at that point, Carol, she actually doesn't like it when the hero leaves her sight either. She's clearly got attached to him, even though she doesn't want to admit it. And she's like, you're not going anywhere without me. You're responsible for covering any damages I suffer now. And that's it. She's with the hero forever. And I'd love to know a reaction when Rose is inside her too, because we know that she's not the biggest fan of Rose. But if it means that she gets more paintings out of Rose, she might be willing to do it. But at that point, Rose would have already have done the painting, so she might feel like Rose's uses are done with at that point. We just don't know. Yeah, 500 took a while, and that's with a subscription too. 1,000 will definitely slow people down. Yeah, it needs to happen because we just end up with too many characters, in all honesty. And I'm going to use it as I'm going to see how it goes and judge once we've changed that requirement. But I wouldn't be against changing it again if we had to. Even making it higher for playable characters and than the others, or you know, making a sort of tiered raindrop amount for each, least for minor NPC and most for playable character. But even for minor NPC, it'll still be 1,000 minimum, because we need to, otherwise we'll end up with too many. Sunday Belle, she is a Sunday, absolutely no doubt about it. That's kind of the trope she's being built around. Would different rain be worth different value during the change of seasons and weather conditions? For example, it used to be more valuable raining while certain stars are shining in the night sky. Who knows? And I do like such detailed lore, National, and certainly wouldn't be against making it more fleshed out. We'll have to say what I'm going to make a note anyway. There's just so much we could take those raindrops, you know. So many different ideas, and of course we gotta make sure nothing clashes. But that's why I like to take everybody's notes so we can get everything out there. I mean, one day soon we'll probably have a raindrop stream, like a full-on raindrop lore stream. I'll get every single thing that's been said put out there and on the screen. And we'll consider what's going to be cool, what we should take and what we should put to the side for a bit, and we'll see. Considering the potential impact, I definitely thought 500 was a steal, especially when I'm just lurking and listening while I work a lot of time. Yeah, and you never know, being a playable character in the future might cost 10,000 raindrops. It could, if things got pretty like everybody wanted to be a character, that would have to happen. And people might think, oh, but there's people in the community that got to be one when they only have 500 raindrops. Boo. And my answer to that would be, well, the people who were here first and supported the stream first do deserve to be, you know, rewarded for that. Sorry if there's no background noise, guys. The house is a bit noisy at the moment. But, right, so it is getting late. We're after 6 p.m. now. To head off. Might have to head off, guys, but if anything, I want to make sure there's nothing important. Is there anything I need to talk about before we finish? I think we've had some good discussion, and we can always expand on this next time or whenever. I'm gonna have a good think about stream content and stuff, because I found today's stream really valuable, in all honesty, and it's making me feel I definitely want to make more of lore streams. And of course game development's important too, rather than just talking, but like I've said, streams are the time for discussion rather than actual work and development, for sure. So I don't know, am I going to get time to give someone a raid before I have to head off, because I'm a little bit in a bit of a rush today, but I'm going to just have a quick peep. I was just struck with the idea of character who would be confused and fascinated by the rumours of Rose of a vampire with animalistic tendencies so unlike himself who would seek the party out. Yeah, and I actually mentioned your vampire character to chat earlier, Try, because I was saying how your vampire is like the opposite of Rose, and there could be, when we talk about vampire lore more, we're going to have to really consider your character in this too, because vampires, you know, they're special. You know, there's going to be a sort of hierarchy, of course, because we've got Rose who's super feral, and then we've got yours that's not. So not every vampire is the same in this world, we know that. Rose is bottom of the hierarchy of vampires, that's for sure. Because she is really not very strong. The idea of them being footfalls to each other was definitely on my mind. Yeah, so it'll be exciting to actually get your character sheet done and really get some insight. And the vampire, we did briefly discuss vampire stuff today, and I would like to talk about it more, but it's just such a big topic, you know. We could easily talk about it because we've got a vampire in the game right now with Rose, and we had a quest that involved sacrificing Rose. There was even a brief little discussion about Rose being immortal at one point, which is an interesting vampire trait, but I'm not sure it's one that Rose would possess, being as she's so bottom of the hierarchy. And we don't even know if top tier vampires would have. We haven't even considered it. It's an interesting concept, that's for sure. And even if Rose was immortal, I mean, I'm not saying no to that, because it's pretty interesting, and I would like Rose to have something strong about her, considering she's such a vulnerable character. It'd be cool if she had something special about her too. But even if she was, part of me would want it to be something she hasn't found out about herself yet, like something she hasn't realised. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that should be brought to light now, because it might feel a bit too much. And I still like Rose to be pictured as this vulnerable character, but you know, it's considering everything really, because there's lore there with the fruits and Rose's life and the sacrifice of her and lots of different things. It's endless. Stream replay work was crazy today. Wow, yeah. So guys, I'm gonna. I was gonna send this to someone, but I am gonna have to rush off, unfortunately, today. Next time we'll do a raid for sure. So guys, thanks so much for hanging out, and I will see you on Monday, because it is Friday today, isn't it? So yeah, very lore driven stream. Even though it was going to be battle system stuff, it ended up being lore stuff. And I don't regret it because we had some good chats, and I'll have to think about things over the weekend. I'm not sure what we're going to do on Monday yet. Normally it would have been battle system because that's what we're working on right now. And we might still do that. I might like still show you guys what we're doing and what's the goals of the game development on the streams, but part of me wants to still make lore talk a focus. We'll see how things are. We'll see next week what we'll do. See you around. Have a great weekend, guys. Take care, chat. Thanks for hanging out for the awesome stream. You are fabulous.